Aqua Carpatica nu este singura apă extraordinară din România. Avem 60% din izvoarele Europei, izvoare cu apă folosită terapeutic de acum 1600 de ani. Exportam apă la Constantinopol acum 800 de ani, ape extrase de la sute de metri adâncime, ape ce izvorăsc din păduri virgine sau ape premiate internațional. Avem și cea mai pură apă minerală din lume, iar apele din România continuă să se întreacă între ele. Încearcă noul izvor Aqua Carpatica, la fel de pur și cu gust unic datorat concentrației speciale de săruri. Aqua Carpatica din România, patria apelor minerale.
INCDT Comodi is Romania's unique R&D institute for gas turbines, dedicated to aerospace with application in the energy field. With more than 20 years of scientific proficiency, the Institute specializes in scientific research, design, testing, and production of innovative and sustainable equipment, such as aviation gas turbines, high-speed bladed machinery, and compressing equipment for natural gas market, focusing on consumption reduction and environmental protection. Working in accordance with a certified quality assurance system, Comodi proves its local and international proficiency through a significant number of international awards, involvement in high enterprise European framework programs, and numerous partnerships with companies such as Safran Group, MT Aerospace, Pratt & Whitney, Onera, DLR, GHH Rand, MAN Diesel, and Turbo. The Institute seeks for new partners in the aerospace field, energy market focusing on gas extraction and transportation, and machine engineering industry. Comodi Institute, experienced partner for innovative and reliable solutions.
Welcome to Guarantee BBVA, a place where we create opportunities for our customers. For more than a quarter of a century, we have held on to our core value of customer comes first. We think big is ingrained in our DNA. We Are One Team reflects our collaborative, inclusive and supportive work environment. Investing in our people is one of our top priorities. Join us on our journey to create opportunities in Romania. Together, we can achieve great things.
Galan, and I will be moderating today's discussion. It is my pleasure to introduce our first keynote speaker that will participate in Bucharest Leader Summit Reporting for Duty, the IVF conference. Professor Diana-Loreta Păun, Presidential Advisor at the Department of Public Health. Ms. Păun, thank you very much for being with us today. It is an honor to have you as a keynote speaker. Please have the floor.
Thank you very much. Good morning, good afternoon to everybody. Dear organizers, ladies and gentlemen, it is a privilege to join these roundtable discussions on behalf of the Presidential Administration, addressing the topic of in vitro fertilization, which has become an increasingly significant subject of debate. Having participated in the previous meetings in 2023, as well as the session earlier this year, I can confirm that the issue raised during those discussions remain highly relevant. This reaffirms the importance of our dialogue as a foundation for ongoing processes, helping to guide and support future decisions and initiatives. The current trends are having a detrimental effect on reproductive health, with data from the World Health Organization indicating that between 8% and 12% of individuals of reproductive age are now affected by infertility. In this evolving landscape, in vitro fertilization is playing an ever more crucial role. While societal advancement have expanded access to education and allowed women to pursue successive careers, postponing motherhood has introduced its own challenges. At the same time, I would also like to emphasize the significant shift in attitudes among younger generations who often face the pressure of demanding careers and the need to attain professional and financial stability before starting having a family. These pressures are creating increasing difficulties in conception, a trend we are witnessing across developed nations worldwide. Given these realities, it is vital that we adopt a comprehensive approach to supporting family formation, ranging from providing medical support through advanced technologies like in vitro fertilization, to offering psychological support and counseling to address the emotional and social challenges involved. In the context of today's discussions, it is essential that we tackle critical issues related to in vitro fertilization with responsibility. Key topics such as legislation and regulation, treatment accessibility and availability, ethical and social considerations, and of course, technological advancement are all interconnected and must be addressed truthfully. I would like to particularly welcome the participation of international experts in today's dialogue, as their contributions will undoubtedly help to identify effective and sustainable solutions. I'm really convinced that through collaboration, we can jointly identify practical solutions that can make a real difference in the lives of those who aspire to start a family. Thank you very much for your invitation, and I look forward to our discussions today.
Thank you very much, Professor Loreta Păun, for your key introduction. Before starting with our today first speaker, I would like just to pass in the review the topics that we propose to discuss today, meaning the innovation and advances in IVF technology, addressing the challenges of infertility, the ethics and regulation in IVF, the accessibility and financing of IVF treatments, and last but not least, the psychological support for couples undergoing IVF treatments. I will give now the floor to Carmen Navarro, who is a consultant of reproductive medicine and laparoscopic surgery, and also a president of Women Fertility Center and Woman Care Center. Ms. Navarro, please, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you so much. Let me share my presentation. Okay. Can you see my presentation?
Yes, we can all see it.
Okay, let me put my chronometer, please. Let me a moment. Okay. Okay. Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Luana, Dr. Chadi Salid, and all organization committee for giving me the opportunity to be here with you. And today we're talking about the ovarian bioregeneration with autologous exosomes. And we must start saying that today the exosomes are the future of the medical regeneration. And it's important that we remember that all systems, in all systems, cells need communicate to each other, and this communication between these cells are made through the especially secretory vesicles. And now we know that these especially secretory vesicles are called exosomes. The healthy cells produce these special vesicles, and they secrete these vesicles outside to the cellular, to the extracellular sizes in order to communicate with another cell for function properly. But we know now that a healthy cell can produce these vesicles, these special vesicles too, and they secrete these vesicles outside to the cellulars in order to help, in order to ask for help. It represents a fantastic ways intercellular communication to maintain the well-being of the biological system. And the question is, what is the important, the exosomes in the reproductive medicines? How do they act? We can say that they mediate the function of target cell by inducing surface ligands. And the second time, they transfer factors associated with various biological pathways. I would like to ask you that pay attention at all these that we have in this slide, and we can see so many products that we can find inside to the exosome, like market protein, bioactive molecules. We can find so very kinds of miRNAs inside to the exosome. How you can see here, we can see inside to the exosome protein, structural protein like actin. This is so many important protein. This is the glycosylphosphatidylinositol, and glycosylphosphatidylinositol is so many important in the medicine reproductive because glycosylphosphatidylinositol modulate the action of all the kinases. And you know what is important, the kinases in our cellular membranes. And I would like that you pay attention at this. In this part, these are tetrapaninas, okay? Tetrapaninas are inside to the exosomes, and tetrapaninas CD63 and CD81 are so many important in fertility because they regulate reduction, signal, facilitate meiosis and activate cellular receptor. But we can find too another important protein like heat shot protein inside to the exosome, and they maintain the proteostasis, prevent cellular aging, control the cycles, and prevents the cellular apoptosis. In summarize, we can say that the appearance of many gynecology diseases, infertility, especially due to premature ovary failure or ovary resistance, is due to inability of cell to produce certain characteristics, protein and miRNAs, so that they continue their function over time. Several studies on exosomes components profiles in human samples and different animal models implied that the exosome transfer specific molecular cargos, particular microRNAs, which could target signal pathways associated with meiotic resumption, follicular development, oocyte maturation, embryo development, and ovulation. And this is so many important slides because here we can see the last study that revealed that all the female disease implantation failures and alterations in gametogenesis are associated with decrease of alteration in different miRNAs and specific protein. And summarizes of exosome miRNA reported and in recent studies considering that they rule in password of most not disabled female reproductive disease. And now we know that alteration of difference of some protein, but especially of specialist miRNAs that need to reestablish or to reactivate lost cellular function. Remember that we have a big problem because the ovulation, that physiological ovulation, age month made and danger inside our ovary, because with age ovulation we have fibrosis in our cortex ovary, and it's impossible that ovary can renew the meiosis. And it's not only the older, is the fibrosis inside the ovary. I will share with you this interesting work. This work was made in M.B.B.S in Achaeans, and they studied the ovarian fluids, the content of ovarian fluids of Smyrna, and so many proteins that are involved in the normal development of the fecundation. And the statement, there are special vesicles in the follicle fluids that contain various types of Smyrnas and protein. What function does Smyrnas have? They are involved in follicular maturation and development and resumption of meiosis or meiosis. The question, are they found in fluid follicles of jungle of M.B.B.S? Remember that this work was made in Achaeans in M.B.B.S. And adult, and answer in this work of the conclusion is no. As mere age, the follicular fluid has fewer Smyrnas and fewer protein. And this another study was made in follicular fluid, but in humans. And they can discover that follicular fluid is of the jungle. Women have 37 kinds of Smyrnas, are not present in peripheral blood, are only present in the follicular fluid, only in the follicular fluid, and 32 of them, remember that we are talking about the 37 Smyrnas and so many protein, but 32 of these Smyrnas are recognized in size to the tetraponinas. Remember tetraponinas CD63 and CD81 that are present in the exosome. And what happened when the woman older in the follicular fluids of the older woman, only about 9 in the jungle, only in the jungle you can find 37, and in older only 9, Mirna, a few this glycosylphosphatidylinositol. Okay, maybe exosome become the fantastic elements in the diagnosis of these pathologies or this dysfunction in the medicine reproductive. Okay, and the question now is, okay, the question is, which exosome provides us more protein and neurons to regenerate the ovaries? We can find exosomes in umbilical cord and amniotic fluid. I work so many times with this and with excellent results. They are excellent, but signs they are heterologous, and we cannot use them openly in all countries and in all patients. In the second point, exosome from adipose tissue, very good for providing exosomes and stem cell, but exosome harvesting machine are very, very expensive. And now we are working with exosome derivatives of platelets. It is an autologous therapy. Remember that platelets are derivatives of those megakaryocytes. A friendly technique, it is not expensive, and our technique provides 5 or 6 trillion of exosome rings in Mirnas and protein per milliliter. I will check with you part of my preliminary study. This is my last study. It's a randomizer, double-blind, prospective study in 30 patients, age 38 to 46 years with premature ovarian failures and refusion age donation, conducted from January 2024 to September 2024. And I'm as apologies because I can change my slide in English, it is in Spanish, but basically I have 3 roles: exosome aptologist, PRP, and solution, physiological solution. The first parameter that I considered was the age of my patient, levels of the FSH, estradiol, anti-Mullerian hormones, follicular antral count, and we can find a significant difference statistics in the exosomes autologous and PRP, like the control group. The other variable that we can study in this preliminary study was the number of oocytes collected. As you can see in the group of the PRP, we collect more oocytes. But in the autology exosome, we have more embryos, di3 embryos, and in the exosomes group, we can see now we have 4 patients that have pregnancies or positive pregnancies and pregnancy less than 12 for patient, only 2 patients of the PRP group and only ones in the physiological solution. Okay, I will share with you a few of my techniques. Dr. Navarro, can you also explain us maybe what we can see in the third video? Sorry, doctor. Do you listen my video? Do you listen my video? Actually, it had no sound, or at least I couldn't hear it properly. I don't know about the other participants, so that's why I thought that maybe it would be okay for you to give us a few insights about the third video. Thank you. Okay. I would like to share with you that if you can take a picture of this last slide in order that you have any question. And this is my personal contact. And okay, I hope that I have a question for you. For sure, I have a question for you. So thank you very much for the presentation.
It's just that maybe the audience would be interested to find out how this autologous exome facilitate the ovarian bioregeneration at the cellular level, and what potential implication could this have for improving the fertility outcomes in the woman with diminished ovarian reserve?
Okay, I am working with this technique. December last year, and we have so many important results. Our pregnancies rates is 23%, and remember that our patients have is a group that are in 38 on 46th year, but now we have a patient that in the last cycle 3 months ago that I have the old patient the 49th year, and I call it seed or sighted seed fertilization. We frozen forth embryos and transfer to, and we have a positive pregnancies in this patient 49th year. It's so many important that we can give our patient another opportunity, not only speak about the donor. I think that we must offer, or we can offer another kind of ways in this patient that want to be pregnancies, because the ovarian is possible to regenerate the ovary, given this microRNA and this protein.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for the insightful presentation. It was truly interesting and state-of-the-art technology, because it was something really new in this field. I would like to pass now to our next speaker, Dr. Ritu Santwani, who is also an ART Singapore obstetrician and gynecologist, sexologist and cosmetologist, and also founder of the CEO 360-degree healthcare studio. Dr. Ritu, you have the floor.
Yeah. Thank you, Alexandra, for kind introduction. First of all, I want to thank the President Diana and congratulate Dr. Carmen for this very nice presentation. With this, I am sharing my screen, and good afternoon to everyone. I hope slides are visible.
Yes, we can all see it.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Actually, these two lines are in Hindi, a worship of my goddess. Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Chikitsa Rupena Sansita Namastatsei Namo Nama. So now coming to the topic. So today what I am going to discuss is related to the ovarian rejuvenation, what's new. Just now we have seen related to the exosomes, somewhat the things what we are doing and what is recently reported in the literature. So what are reported in the literature, I am going to show that what are the recent advances. So once the lady is approaching to us that she is not able to conceive due to low AMH. So as we all know, this reproductive aging, the ovarian aging is a critical factor affecting the fertility, marked by decline in the quality and quantity of oocytes, highly challenging situation. The three main patient categories with ovarian insufficiency, what we are dealing with, the premature ovarian failure, poor ovarian response, and advanced maternal age. So ladies are approaching to us with the constantly coming the negative UPT. So in this ovarian rejuvenation process, this is a process in which the production of the eggs is artificially stimulated, giving the woman the chance to produce more eggs than they would naturally have been able to, and therefore giving them the chance to conceive by using their own genetic material. So in this, there are the series of experimental procedures that may create the newer eggs or activate the primordial eggs in the ovaries of women who are unable to conceive because of the three categories, what I've already mentioned: early menopause, low egg counts, or advanced maternal age. So we can see this process is a silver lining in the black clouds. So indications, as already have discussed, the main three. Along with that, the females with premature ovarian failure, primary ovarian insufficiency, loss of ovarian function due to chemotherapy, or the ovarian dysfunction. So as we all know, the knowledge is power. So there are a lot of technologies are coming. So it doesn't matter how many resources we are having if we do not know how to use them. So what are the new technologies are available? We are going to discuss one by one. So what are the different therapies? Just now we have seen from Dr. Carmen, yes, the platelet-rich plasma we are using, stem cell transplantation, ovarian tissue transplantation, autologous germline mitochondrial energy transfer, mitochondrial replacement therapy, artificial ovary, artificial gametes, and the drugs like androgens, DHEA, coenzyme Q10, and SERTs. So the PRP, as we all know, plays a key role in the cell proliferation and differentiation of mesenchymal cells. Several factors potentially acting the result, namely the time interval between the two PRP application and how much the volume is administered. The PRP, being an autologous product, minimizes the potential of side effects. So we all know that how we are making this autologous PRP. There are thousands of techniques are reported, but what we are using, as we all know, it is in this, we are collecting the patient's blood from the peripheral venipuncture, which is centrifuged to remove the RBCs, and then one additional centrifugation to concentrate the platelets and the addition of the platelet agonist to activate the sample. So the concentrated sample contains at least 5 to 10-fold higher concentration of growth factors. So addition of the this activation is all vary. Some are adding, some are not adding. So then while doing this PRP, the 100 of bioactive molecules are released. The intraovarian PRP injection is usually conducted under transvaginal ultrasound, where the laparoscopic approach is required in severe cases of POI due to difficult detection of the ovaries without the growing follicles under the ultrasound. So these are the some studies which has been presented for the autologous PRP, are recent studies of the last year, 2023. Then coming to the next modality is the stem cell transplantation. Studies have focused on the use of the multipotent stem cells and particularly of the mesenchymal stem cells as a potential therapeutic tool for ovarian insufficiency. These cells can secrete several growth factors, anti-inflammatory cytokines, namely the interleukin, TNF, and INFG, and many more. So these are also the some studies in the favor of this. As for the paucity of the time, I can't take each and every module in detail, so I'm showing in nutshell. Then the effectiveness of an autologous stem cell ovarian transplantation protocol, the ASCOT protocol, has been reported. In this, following bone marrow mobilization with GCSF administration, stem cell collection is done by apheresis from the peripheral blood and the ovarian infusion. Autologous stem cell ovarian transplantation done via intra-arterial catheterization under USG guidance or laparoscopically. Studies have shown that post 2 weeks of this treatment, the good results has been reported. I have not used this, but this is reported. I am using extensively the PRP. Then another therapy has been reported is the ovarian tissue transplantation, in which the orthotopic transplantation may present as an optimal practice since the microenvironmental around the transplanted tissue is the most suitable for follicular development. Ischemia has also been described as detrimental side effect following ovarian tissue transplantation. The main cause has been reported being a lack of vessel anastomosis. Then for this, studies have come for this ovarian tissue transplantation. Studies have been reported that up to the 40 to 30% of the pregnancy and live birth has been reported in some studies. Spontaneous conception and live birth has also been reported. This I have taken from the Journal of the Reproduction and Genetics 2022. Then studies have shown yes, I have just mentioned, so I will skip. Then the another category is coming, the autologous germline mitochondrial energy transfer, the augment. So in this, the process of augment includes the isolation of mitochondria from the patient's ovarian stem cells and injected into the patient's own oocytes during the ICSI. Heterologous mitochondrial transfer, also known as the mitochondrial replacement therapy, has also been reported. So 4 protocols has been reported: the pronuclear transfer, the polar body transfer, maternal spindle transfer, and germinal vesicle transfer. So this is how the procedure is done. Selection, retrieval, mitochondrial isolation and transfer, fertilization, culturing, assessment, and embryo transfer. And then, of course, the supportive care and monitoring for the ongoing pregnancy care. These are the some studies which have been reported in the favor of this mitochondria as a tool for the oocyte regeneration. Then there are a lot of ethical and regulatory challenges for this MRT, significantly ethical debates and regulatory scrutiny, particularly concerning the genetic manipulation and potential long-term effects, has been reported. So then coming to the another modality is the artificial ovary. Artificial ovary developed by cultivating the ovarian follicles within a 3D scaffold to support their growth and maturation. Again, this is exposing a sensitive tissue in a challenging environment may entail the certain epigenetic risk, which in turn may raise the bioethical issues until the strong evidence accumulates and the concept of artificial ovary clearly remains at the experimental stage. But these all are reported, that's why I've included everything in my presentation. Then coming to the for the artificial gametes, the 4 basic cell types artificial gametes has been reported: germline stem cells, induced pluripotent stem cells, somatic cell nuclear transfer to the embryonic stem cells, then to donor oocytes. The human hepatic cell lines and human amniotic stem cells have also been successfully recruited to artificial gametes. So there are a lot of ethical concerns has been reported by this therapy for this therapy. Then coming to the drugs, the role of androgens, as we all know, yes, we are using the testosterone pre-treatment for the poor responders, increasing the number of the cumulus oocyte complexes, increasing the probability of the pregnancy. Then these are the some dosage schedule chart what we are using here. Of course, this vary from patient to patient. This is the usually what we are following. Duration of pre-treatment is usually 21 to 28 days. These are the some studies which will favor in the of the testosterone gel and patches. Then another component is the DHEA. A lot of studies have come. DHEA may positively affect the recruitment from the dormant primordial follicular pool and increases the AMH. But yes, we have to give minimum for 3 months or more. Now, there are a lot of more studies are coming, which are some studies are not favoring, but still we are using in some of our patients along with the PRP. Another drug is the coenzyme Q10. As we all know, it lowers the aneuploidy rate, delays the ovarian reserve depletion, restores the oocyte mitochondrial gene expression, improves mitochondrial activity and distribution, lowers the ROS in oocytes, increases the mitochondrial mass and polarization, and increases the ATP levels in oocytes. Yes, we are using of the dose of 300 mg as Then there are one other category, the sirtuins and NRF2, which interplay in the ovarian rejuvenation. The studies have shown that as the age increases, the sirtuins SIR down regulates, and it is a major determinant influencing the ovarian aging and the quality of gametes. The studies has been presented in the Molecular Reproduction Development 2020. These are the some studies which have presented in the favor of this. These all are the very recent studies. These are considered to be as the gene modulators. Then the studies have come, studies have come that the role of the SIRT in female reproductive longevity. So studies have shown to including in the regulation of heterochromatin, telomere maintenance and repair of DNA damage. Only few slides more. Improvement of oocyte quality through the SERT signaling pathway. The studies have shown the SERT 1, 2 and 3 for the ovarian follicular reserve, maturation, mitochondrial abundance, fertilization and embryo development, regulation of meiosis, oocyte maturation, spindle chromosome organization, and of course the 3 with the fertilization, early embryo development, luteinization process and mitochondrial protein hyperactivation. Then the another thing has been reported is the NRF2 factors, the nuclear factor erythroid 2 factors, which are present in the ovarian cells. So a lot of good results are coming with these preparations. These are the studies have been presented in the favor of this the Harvard Medical School in 2023. Then clinical applications of this ovarian rejuvenation, of course, for the infertility treatment, early menopause, the broader implications for the more options for the family in the later life. So future perspectives of ovarian rejuvenation, yes, the technological advances, the integration of AI and machine learning to predict the treatment outcomes, tailor approaches for individual patients, research expansion, and of course the clinical adoption, anticipation of broader clinical trials, regulatory approval as evidence of safety and efficacy strengthens. So as we all know, biology is the science, evolution is the concept that makes the biology unique. So friends, I will end with this. The knowledge is not the last resort. It is the only one. Let's let the light of knowledge take away the darkness of ignorance. So we had done the ovarian rejuvenation and the lady is happy. So he is happy post-treatment. So ultimately she got a healthy baby. So thank you to all of you for your interest and time. If any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Yes, I actually do have a question before also checking the chat of our speakers for any other question. My question would be related from everything that you already presented. What do you think are the most promising techniques currently being explored and functioning for ovarian rejuvenation? And how do they address this underlying cause of age-related decline of in ovarian function? Because there are so many techniques now on the market, and you know, it's as for the physician, it's quite hard to keep up with the the development of all of them. So, in your opinion, what do you think? Which one of them do you think is the most promising one?
Thank you, Alexandra. So yes, for this, yes, the most promising is currently what we are using is the PRP therapies. Yes, and we are getting very good results. I would like to take the opinion of all other speakers who have joined. Yes, I think they all must be also using. Yes, I have used in more than 600 patients the PRP therapy, the ovarian PRP, are very good results. Rest all are coming day by day. As stem cell, I have not used. Of course, in India, a lot of doctors are using. Yes, some patients are getting good results with the stem cell also, but if we go for the cost and all other things, the PRP is cheap and we are getting the good results also. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your answer. I will pass now to our next speaker, the Professor Denisa Mariana Protopopescu, who is in healthcare management, inspector of the European Society of Human Reproduction and Embryology, ESHRE, since 2018, and is also coordinator of ESHRE-SIG, Global Fertility and Social Cultural Aspects of Infertility, also since 2018. Professor Protopopescu, welcome to our panel. Please, you have the floor. You are on mute at the moment. Perfect. We cannot hear you yet. We can see your screen, but we cannot hear you, sadly. You are on mute. Nu vă auzim în continuare. Apăsați pe tasta de spațiu, vedeți, poate așa se deblochează microfonul. Între timp o să scriu și eu colegilor de la tehnic, poate reușesc ei să vă dea în mute, numai puțin.
Acum auziți?
Da,
Nu?
vă auzim perfect,
Ok.
perfect, ba da, în sfârșit, mulțumim.
Okay, sorry about this. Hi, hello everyone.
Hello.
Sorry about my delay, and I want to thanks to the group where is Ioana Țigănescu, who is organizing these nice things every year, and maybe twice a year. So now we are gathered together with lots of doctors, embryologists from all over the world, great people in IVF, and I would like to thank them, to all of them. I will try to do my speech in English or in Romania. How do you prefer? I have it in English and I can do it in Romanian if you want. This is
In English would be better
English.
because
Okay.
of the international audience that we have today with us. Thank you.
Yes, yes. So I'm a clinician, but my speak today will be about humanity's fertility trends. I am from this year, for 2 years from now on, coordinator of the ESHRE global and socio-cultural aspects of infertility. And as you know, the fertility is dropping all over the world. So we have to talk to the politicians, to the governments, to everywhere to try to solve it, to try to help people who want children and so on. Now, I don't think this is going or not. I would like to go further. Yes, so thank you very much to everyone. As you know, the World Health Organization defines infertility as a disease of male and female reproductive system defined by a failure to achieve a pregnancy after 12 months or more of unprotected intercourse. European Society of Human Reproduction and Embryology said 1 in 6 couples had an infertility problem. The prevalence is over the period of 12 months, affecting people, women around 20 and 44 years old all over the world. It's 8 to 12%. Is it going? Yes. Now, from the old time, Genesis said, be fruitful and multiply. From the beginning, the human race had an interest in interrupting, continuing, and discontinuing the process of reproduction. In the Egyptian papyri, they are written about gynecology symptoms and receipts for increasing infertility.
The Bible showed the Jewish interest in fertility process and knowledge about contraception. The Greek, as you know, Hippocrates, 460, 377 BC, said seeds come from the body of woman and man, got together, they blossom, form a fruit, and develop. And Aristotle was the first to specify the importance of sexual intercourse in procreation. As you know, Isis, the mother of Horus, was telling us from 2686 about donor sperm from her dad's husband. So Osiris, the god of afterlife, was killed by his brother. And Isis, the wife and sister of Osiris, used the magical power to conceive a child named Horus after Osiris died. So she took the sperm from a dead people and have a boy. So there are lots of myths all over the world. Then in 1978, the pioneers of IVF, Streptow and Edwards, got a child, Louise Brown, who was delivered in 1978. And now she is all over the world speaking in conference. She is so nice, and she has 2 kids by her own. In 2010, in October, Robert Edwards took the Nobel Prize for this IVF. Why is fertility declining? Because of the social structure, religious belief, economic prosperity, urbanization in each country, and they are different in every country. So developed countries tend to have a lower fertility rate due to associated with economic affluence, where mortality rate is low, birth control are readily available. And we change our style of life. So from traditional life, like, Zadruga is called in the old time, where our parents lived with the grandparents and with the kids, with the nephews. They all live together. Women stay home, have 3, 5, 6, 7, 10 kids. They are happy. Now the women had fundamental changes in social life and reproductive behavior. They have sex before marriage. They have frequent cohabitation. The secularization life has moved away from religious norm. The level of education has increased. Women actively participate in labor market alongside men. The number of children in a couple has decreased. The decision to remain child-free is accepted by some people. And it's an increased number of women who do not have children by the age of 40. The number of single women has increased also. So we have a modern lifestyle. We are all the time with our mobile phones, with our laptops, conferences, and so on, so we don't have time for kids anymore. Unfortunately, we see an extensive delay of childbearing. In the past, family planning policies have focused on contraception, but this one slowing world production growth. Now there is a predictive population decline of more than 50% from 2017 to 2100, causing demographic changes with profound societal implication. The concept of family building implies the process by which individuals and couples create or expand their families. Family buildings encompasses various methods and options for individual or couples who wish to have children. So they can have children by natural conception, they can have art, They can have surrogacy, adoption, and foster care. We need to develop education program for young adults to increase family building. Family building awareness and prevent infertility is an urgent need for professionals, even between us, between doctors, even between teachers, even in the public, even policymakers, to make child and family-friendly policies. In 1990, up to 10% of all children in the world are born as a result of IVF. So this is an increasing contribution of fertility care, and this is also an increasing contribution to economic benefits of societies. We talk about total fertility rate, which is the number of children born per woman, living to the end of childbearing life, and this one has decreasing dramatically in many countries. By 2050 and 2100, 77% in high-income countries will drop, and we have below the 2.1 children per woman. So you know, if you want to reproduce, you need 2.1 children per family, per couple, per woman, whatever you want to say. If you have less than 2, you don't reproduce yourself. If you have more than 2.1, you can reproduce the species. So if you have 1 child, you don't reproduce the 2 people in the couple. If you have 2 children, you just reproduce you and your husband. But if you want to have more children and more people in the world, you need to have more than 2.1 children per woman. We have to include migration. We have to include all this dramatically increasing ratio between elderly people and young people, which will be irreversible and even accelerating in the future. This aging population increased healthcare and pension costs and the fewer workers for economical growth. Political and social friction, as it's in Romania now. You see, we have strikes from the people who got in pensions, so they don't have enough money to live. For drugs, when we are old, you need more money for health. You need more money, you need help from the young generation. So if the young generation became lower in number, you won't do anything. So this is a very nice article published in Human Reproduction Update. It was published now in 2024. It's declining global fertility rates and implication for family planning and family building. It's an IFFS consensus document based on narrative review of the literature. This is quite an interesting document. And they noticed a global declining fertility rate. So they said, we need to have a family being a human rights for everyone. Countries need to adopt family-friendly policies. And male infertility care needs to be more accessible, because we talk about women, but we don't talk too much about men in infertility. And they start from their very, very young, from their born cryptorchidism and so many other problems, working in IT with computers, keeping on the, eating a few things that are not normal, environmental factors. So men are also in the same proportion of infertility like women. So public funding of infertility treatment has occurred in a limited number of countries. we need to extend the spending on child benefits from a country to country, and many barriers remain not solved in infertility. These are governments who are friendly with, policies friendly with fertility. And you can see here the best one is in Europe. I'm talking about Europe, where GDP is good for France, where you have a good natality. It's 2.8. Hungary, which has a good natality, Sweden, United Kingdom, and then you see there are countries where we have less than 2 TNF, so it's a very poor natality. This is an European Atlas of Fertility Treatment Policies. So you can see here they are done by Fertility Europe, which is a great organization working with people in Europe. And you can see Romania, and it's somewhere here in the orange lines. So this is a very poor fertility, and it's helped just a little bit by the government. So the total fertility rate, as I told you, most of the countries have a very poor fertility rate. And this is depending because in the developed country, they delay the childbearing, economical factor, high cost of living in developed nations, increased access to contraception, changing societal norms, women empowerment, so a great opportunity for women to be educated and to work, and so they don't have time for having kids or having more kids. So urbanization, social and cultural factors, climate change, and so on. There are lots of factors who can be detrimental to fertility. A little bit about how climate change, environmental and exposure impact reproductive health. Prevalence of infertility: 1 in 6 couples worldwide experience some form of infertility. Contributing factors: psychological causes, lifestyle such as smoking, drugs, body weight, stress, lots of genetic problems, age and art. So these are the most important factor, because everywhere in the world, but I can tell you in Romania, we have people coming from 39 years old to do IVF. So at 44, 45, 46, they want to have a kid, the first child. So this is not good. Global ART cycles. So in 2019, over 1 million treatment cycles were reported in European countries alone, with worldwide number exceeding 3 million annually. So we have lots of ART cycles all over the world. Regional disparities, because we have problems in some parts of Europe and even in the world. Not everyone can address IVF treatment. Air pollution, ovarian reserves. So we can talk about female health, male health, and offspring health. So we talk in female health about ovarian function and endocrine disruption if you are in an environmental exposure of pollution. Pregnancy complication and birth outcome, gestational diabetes, hypertension disorder, preterm birth, and long-term health impacts. So cardiovascular, metabolic disorders, reproduction, and cancer. In male, we can talk about sperm quality and function. So lots of problems in sperm quality, function, motility, morphology, DNA integrity, reproductive disorders and testicular health, fertility challenges and assisted reproduction, And in offspring, we can talk about developmental origin of health and disease. So we find people, you know, when I was very young, I didn't hear too much about ADHD. We didn't too much about other autism spectrum disorders. Now there are unfortunately, lots of people with autism and with hyperactivity disorders. Metabolic health and obesity in children, reproductive health and developmental disorders in children. So we have to understand that governments must act now to address the effect of climate change, pollution on fertility rates and reproductive health. So there are some policies to address declining birth rate in developed countries. And this is an urgent need to initiate strategies of local and national and international level to prevent people and protect human fertility. We need an early and cost-effective assessment of fertility problems. We need to prolong a plan to prolong the fertility in every country. We need safe, mild, and good, effective assisted reproduction treatment. We need the role of immigration trends in improving birth rates. And we need strategy for reproduction and family life, which should be replaced with fertility treatment, which should replace fertility treatment. So, as I told you before, 1 in 6 people experience infertility, as WHO published in 2023. You see now the population is dropping, the fertility level is dropping as well. And they said in 2021, it dropped to 2.4 from 5 around 1960. Fertility effect fertility fact sheets on infertility. So 48 million couples are affected by infertility worldwide, and 25 million couples are affected of infertility in European Union. Is infertility in European Union in decline? Yes. Do everyone has access to healthcare? No. Do anyone know about the conventional rights of persons with disabilities? Because infertility, it's a serious global disability. It's a chronic disability. No, I don't think all the people know this. So as doctors, as embryologists, we have to talk about this and to tell to the people who can change these things. So it's a call for action. We have to raise awareness among women and men. We have to raise reconciliation between work life and family life. We have to talk about the right couple to universal access to infertility treatment regarding every country of origin. And we have to educate people about the effect of lifestyle factor, which can change the fertility in a wrong way. You know, we passed through COVID, so this was a global decline in birth rate. And we have, even in Australia, which was apart from Europe and Asia, and they have huge problem in IVF and in infertility. Even China, where they report a high rate of fertility, they had on COVID time 1.07 children per woman. Then came the war. So we have the war between Russia and Ukraine. We have the war in Middle East. So we have quite huge problems for these people and for us all over the world, because the young generation is thinking if the world is expanding, if they, bombarded clinics in the Middle East of IVF. The Ukrainian clinics moved some of them to Europe, so they are doing very well there. So it's an instability, being an instability all over the world. People are thinking if they need children or not. In the meantime, in Hungary, the government said that they have 6 IVF clinic for government clinic for the people. The people should not pay anything for fertility, and they should grow up the number of delivery to 4,000 to the end of 2022. In the United States, it's very quick. They got a law to give $20,000 because IVF is very expensive in the US, but the government gives $20,000 for every couple who wants kids. France and so on. There are lots of countries in Europe where they give money for fertility. So fertility rate in Romania in 2023 was 1.647, and now in 2024 became to 1.652, so it's still very low to have, people natality growing. As you see, we have in Romanian, this is from 2023, it's from Statistic Institute. So you see, we have people who have kids around 28, 29, then they drop the fertility, which is all over the world. We have 30 years of demographic decline. So this was talked in Lublin in Central European Forum. We have a low fertility. We have, instead of, we have emigration, lots of people going in UK. I said they are going to increase natality in UK, but because now they are coming back to Romania to have IVF, and then they are going there in UK, in France, in Spain to deliver. In Romanian is still cheap for them, so they come here to do it. People need more money to improve their quality of life, and if they improve the quality of life, they can afford to grow up more than 2.1 kids. We have a mass labor migration. We have young generation, good children, who are very international, people in mathematics, in physics, in biology, and everything, who are doing the high school and the universities in UK, in the States, and unfortunately, not too many of them are coming back. So we, the government of our country, should do more than this. This is a very interesting. The Office for National Statistics, a British government administration, had a statistic sharing this information. The fertility rate among Romanians living in Great Britain was 2.93. At the same time, it was 1.56 in Romania. So you see, we are going to change the fertility, to grow up fertility in Europe. We remember about the decree on 770 on Ceausescu time, which was an awful experience where the people should have 5 kids. There were, you know, was a collective trauma for people, but long time was this. So now we need to have, to propose solution to grow up the fertility. So in conclusion, the Romanian authority have not yet found an effective solution counteract the consequences of the demographic decline. Romanian by 2050 could decrease by as much as 4.49 million. We have to be pleased because we unlocked the IVF voucher. We thank to the advocacy and lobbying, you know, there are some groups in Romania like SOS Infertility who are very good in advocacy for rights of the couples with fertility. We have to have negotiation and collaboration between us, first of all, between doctors, between embryologists, between all the people who are working in infertility, because we are not only gynecologists, we have urologists, we have endocrinologists, we have all kind of specialties in infertility. We have to work together for this. Public communication and awareness, so media and awareness campaign. We need legal assistance if we need. We have to unlock other problems to solve down the money for fertility. So we need affordability, equity, health and well-being for the people. We need a family planning. We need public health benefits. So we need more things to be able to grow up the natality in Romania and all over the world. And I would be very pleased if we can change the ideas and change this. This is a statistical talk, but it's very good because I was a clinician, and all the time I was working with people and I care for them, and I'm doing IVF for 26 years in Romania, and I worked 4 years in UK before. So I'm doing it for quite a long time. I'm doing it, I love my job, but we have to do these things which are not very nice for us as clinicians. But we have to gather together and talk about this with the organization and with the people in all over the country. And I would be very happy if we can get together with other people, even from India, even from Pakistan, even from Egypt, from UK, because we can do very nice things about infertility. I thank you very much. And these are some references. So thank you very much. And I wish you all to have very nice babies and very nice embryos. And God help you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Protopopescu. I actually had a question prepared for you, but your presentation was so insightful that you already answered my question. Thank you very much for today. And today I will take the opportunity to pass to our new speaker. It's Carmen Ioniotescu, who is a specialist in obstetrics and gynecology at Wellborn Medical. Ms. Ioniotescu, you have the floor.
Hello, my name is Carmen Ioniotescu. I'm a gynecologist. I'm a specialist in infertility. And one of my main concerns in the last years are actually the causes of infertility and female infertility. I think there is a lack of information. A lot of women, they don't know that when time is passing, the oocytes are getting also old, and we cannot have children at an advanced age. That's why my presentation is about female infertility. Unfortunately, it's in Romanian. I will try to share the screen. I'm not sure I remember how to do it. Just a second. Is it okay? Can you see?
Yeah, we can all see it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Cauzele infertilității sunt destul o listă lungă de motive pentru care cuplurile nu reușesc să obțină o sarcină. Conform ghidurilor la care ne raportăm, infertilitate inexplicabilă.
Just a small thing. I understand that the presentation is in Romanian.
You want me to talk in English?
Appreciate to speak in English because we have an international audience and I would like for them to understand what we are saying. Thank you.
Of course. So there are many causes of infertility. We have unexplained infertility, ovulatory dysfunction, tubal factor, or maid factor. Also, the uterine factor is also important. What have I seen in our reproductive fertility center is that in a short period of time, in 6 months, we had 44% of patients that were coming in for the first time in our clinic. They had indication to do IVF because they had a low ovarian reserve, and also they had other small causes of infertility. That's why the recommendation was done. What is ovarian reserve? Is that the women have they are born with a number of eggs. They are formed from the intrauterine life, and as the time is passing, the number of the eggs is decreasing. We try to identify the causes and how can we help. Mostly the causes of low ovarian reserve are medical causes, like they had surgical intervention for endometriomas or for ovarian cysts. They had oncology treatment also. They can have genetic causes or autoimmune disease like thyroiditis and so on. Also the smoking, which we recommend to be stopped in the moment of conception or preconception when they decide to have a baby. And also the advanced age, as I said before. What our patients should know that between 18 and 24 years old, that's the best age to have a baby. But in our days, a lot of women are thinking to have a baby before 24 years old. Between 25 and 30 years old, the chances are good to have a pregnancy, also between 31 and 35. Actually, what I've seen in the last years, the women are trying to conceive after 36, when the quality of the eggs are low, when the risk of having a chromosomal anomaly is higher. And we have success women, career women that they are trying to conceive after 40 years old, when the chances are really, really low. And when we usually recommend to have an IVF with egg donation. Why people are postponing the conception is because a lot of women are thinking to have a career first. They were thinking to have money to raise a child. Some of them, they are single women and they don't have a partner and they don't want to have a baby without a father in the daily life. And also because of the medical causes that they have a medical problem that has to be resolved before a pregnancy, like an oncology problem. But what they encourage, the reason that women are encouraged to have a baby after 36, let's say, is that in the media, a lot of stars and known person have babies after 50, let's say, and they are thinking, okay, if this woman could have a baby later, maybe I'll have a baby after 45. Our recommendation for low ovarian reserve is to try to have a child with your own genetic material, with your own eggs. We recommend in vitro fertilization. If this thing is not possible because we have a patient that has 40 or 41 years old, we can try to encourage new protocols, hormone stimulation, natural cycle IVF, duo-stim maybe, or ovarian stimulation on the luteal phase. And in our colleagues, the embryologists are trying to improve the quality of the embryos in the lab. They're doing growth factor, PIXI, and of course, what we recommend nowadays to every couple is to test the embryos, to do PGTA, to see if the embryos are euploid or not. Another good method of increasing the pregnancy rate is embryo banking, with every cycle to try to have to store one embryo until we have a good number of embryos, and then to try to transfer them in the uterus. Pregnancy rate in the patient with the low ovarian reserve is 11% per cycle and can be higher in younger patients. We have a statistic that is made about how many eggs you have to recover in one cycle or in more cycles to have a good embryo, euploid embryos. So if you are under 35 years old, it's let's say it's enough to have 6 eggs to have one embryo. But if you are over 40, you need 18 eggs, which 16 has to be mature, to have only one euploid blastocyst. So the rate of having a chromosomal anomaly in a blastocyst after 40, it's really high. How can we help? We can help these women to have an IVF procedure with egg donation. A lot of patients, they don't agree with this recommendation. A lot of them, they want to try to have with their own eggs, but after they are convinced that this is not possible, they agree with an egg donation procedure. Also, this is if we are talking about papers and everything that comes with this procedure, sometimes for many patients can be really difficult to have their file approved, to have an access to the egg banks, oocyte banks, to choose the donor and so on. Also, there are a lot of ethical problems. A lot of people, they cannot agree with this and they choose to adopt. In this situation, in our center, the pregnancy rate is really big, it's high. 75–80% per cycle. An important way to prevent this, let's say, this cause of infertility is the awareness. There are a lot of non-governmental associations that are trying to make the awareness about that women should have children at a good age. Also, the doctors, the gynecologists that are not in infertility centers, they should recommend patients to start thinking that having a child at a good age, procreation age, not after 40. What we can do for the women that they are sure that they want to have a baby, but it's not the moment in that point of their life, they can vitrify oocytes, they can freeze eggs, but it's supposed to be before 35 years old. And if they're in a stable relationship, they can freeze embryos. So they can do an IVF procedure. They have embryos, good embryos, we can freeze them and transfer them later in their life when the moment it's opportunistic for them. This was my presentation. Thank you very much. It's a real problem having to convince a patient that at 40 she's young, but she's not young enough to have a child with her own eggs.
Thank you very much for the presentation. I do have a question related to what you presented until now. Considering that we live in 2024 and the technology developed so much in terms of the IVF treatment and assessing the quality of the ovocytes. So what strategies do you recommend for women with low ovarian reserve who are trying to conceive, and how do these strategies differ based on their age and individual health factors?
First of all, they should improve their quality of life, their lifestyle. They have to have a good weight, not to be obese, for example. They have to have a good alimentation, to eat properly, good nutrition. This is important, but the most important factor that we cannot change is the age, because the oocytes are in the ovaries from the beginning. And if you are 40, your eggs are also 40. Everything you can improve a little bit, but sometimes we need to do more IVF procedure to find, let's say, the golden egg, that egg that it's normal and it's good quality. We have some nutritional supplements that we recommend, but not all of them are really studied and with good efficacy.
Okay, thank you very much for answering the question. I will pass now to our next speaker, Miss Irena Gosheva, who's a specialist in obstetrics and gynecology, biotech obstetric gynecology department in Skopje, North Macedonia. Ms. Gosheva, you have the floor.
Thank you for the invitation. And after the thorough presentation of Professor Protopopescu, it is, I mean, she engaged everything of the IVF that could be said. So I will make a short statement from my presentation that I have today that might actually add on your question, Alexandra, that you just asked to Dr. Carmen. So here is my presentation, and just let me find it. Yeah, here it is. So what can we do actually to modify some of the risk factors regarding the fertility and infertility? I will not take just one more second. Yeah. So we need to, all of the gynecologists from the primary up until the tertiary care should understand that this is the fertility and infertility is not just simple semantics. So it's never in absolute terms. So you might have had a patient who gave birth to one child, and then you just, we should not neglect the fact that she might be affected at some point, or her partner, with the infertility. So what is about the public policies and awareness is everything from the reproductive health regarding unintended pregnancies, sexual diseases, but it's never awareness, but it's never the awareness enough high regarding the fertility and the infertility. So this is more like a global health that we need to fight for, because it is continually actually a neglected component of the reproductive health. Whereas we all know that infertility is a very complex disorder with not just medical components, but also psychosocial, economic, demographic implications, and so on and so forth. This is why I asked why I have mentioned here in this slide is that regarding the HO, we know from percentage point of view that the female factor is more prominent for the infertility, unlike the male factor. However, if we see here that there are some that we never rarely pay attention to in our clinical practice, is on the right side of the table, you will see after the ovulatory dysfunction, tubal damage, endometriosis, the coital issues. So we never ask the patients if they do have a coital issue. We step right away onto the evaluation, see the spermogram, how it's going, see the male factor, then the female factor, then the tubal patency, then the ovulatory function and everything. But we never ask if they have coital issues, which in many cases might cause an infertility. We as gynecologists tend to be over-focused on the gynecological issue. But this is 6% from one analysis of 8,500 pairs from WHO. We don't even know actually the true prevalence. So if we need to develop like more multidisciplinary efforts to better not just detect, but to prevent also the infertility. So you can see here about the sexual dysfunction that it is stated that as many as 30% of men and 40% of women are affected, whereas couples that are dealing with infertility, this percentage is even higher. So what do? First, we need to know to exclude or include if there are any coital issues. But if we detect that there are and might be existent, very few gynecologists in the world have also knowledge and certification in sexology. So we might refer those pairs also with a proper sexologist so they can add to our infertility treatment as for the sexual dysfunction. So once we all have the thorough history of the patient, then we go further for the medical analysis. And what is really important is that many of the patients up until their 35 years, when they go to a gynecologist and they're still not ready for childbearing, I'm sure that many of the gynecologists, if not all, tell everything is good, the smears are okay, your reproductive health is good, but very few talk to the patient about the time frame of her fertility potential. Because once we tell the patient that everything is good, then they maintain that statement as in absolute terms. And if they come in the next year or the year after that on a checkup, and if they say, oh, I want to have kids, but now I don't, then we tell them, well, there is issue with the age and everything. Maybe it's better that we start with this awareness much, much earlier. Once they engage with the regular gynecological checkups, we need to make sure that we raise the awareness for the time frame of the biological potential, because for some people time may pass like this, for some not, but all of them must be aware for the time potential. So for the regular analysis, I will not speak too much, because once we engage for the evaluation of infertility, there is like, on the one hand is like basic checkups, on the other hand that there is too thorough evaluation, overdiagnosis, or too many tests that are engaged, and that a lot of them have very limited clinical utility, and that makes the evaluation for infertility hugely and massively expensive for some of the couples. We should be holding to that we tend to the patient tell very early about their fertility potential and regarding their age, and how is declining with the age is progressing, and about the natural fertility potential that they might have in the age frame that they are calling to the gynecologist. So the Professor Protopopescu said a lot about the environmental factors, and also she mentioned all of the aspects. I will not be very sticking to this slide, but I just wanted to share that all of our patients, once they come into a gynecological checkup, need to be familiar with that the fertility declining starts from 32. So they can have the options and awareness for childbearing. And if they don't have this awareness for childbearing at the moment, that we can always suggest to them the cryopreservation techniques. So it is best that these I have in the last slides, that these cryopreservation techniques should be proposed best in their 30s. So when they're younger, it will be they will not use the oocytes that we have cryopreserved. It is a huge probability that they will get married or get pregnant afterwards, but in their 30s, there is a huge percentage that they will use it. Yeah, this is about the age. And also, once we make them aware about the aging, how it affects fertility, we are one of the major and most important doctors that we should tell them about the life changes, especially the body mass index, the weight, that definitely not just affects the overall health, but especially the fertility. Most of the young patients tend to be on the two sides of the spectrum of the body mass index. They are either overweight or very lean, and all of them should be aware about the obesity-associated fertility decline, and on the other spectrum, the very lean that also have fertility issues. So we should engage about if they're obese, about their losing weight, but there are too many programs, too many diets, too many everything, that most of them actually, there are no single data that they show that they're effective. The data that we have are from small cohorts, and most of us stick to, from unknown reasons, is we don't have too much data about the food. The fertility diets that are set, the Mediterranean, so famous diet, is that for some people is working, for some couples is not. And but at the end of the day, there is a saying, we are what we eat. So I'm quite sure that the mainstream medicine that we are practicing with the statement of one pill fits all is actually, I don't agree with that much. I believe that individualized approach is everything. And in that individualized approach, the major aspect should be about the food, actually, because it's we cannot make changes with, I don't know, several injections and everything in a patient that is not with regular body mass index, that was not eating healthy for the past decade, that was not taking good care of themselves, the couples. So it's very hard to take everything in few hormones and few protocols. I do believe that it is essential that we helped hide the awareness for the food intake actually from the diet, and not just to give the diet, any kind of diet, to a patient that is going to a fertility treatment. But it's very important once the women engage to gynecological checkups that we give them proper advice about what means proper food. Well, whereas nowadays with this kind of pollution, it is very difficult to understand the proper food and healthy food. However, it is important that we keep aware and just like make the world a better place for all of us, not just for our patients. So what I would also like to mention is that we don't talk about the pandemics, what have caused on the fertility. We do have new diseases that might change the fertility, and we don't know that yet. We do know that it causes a huge impact on male fertility. We're not sure about the female, but there will be in a decade from now a whole bunch of data that will show us, while we were fighting with the protocol, whether short protocol, long protocol, first EUI, then IVF, that will show that a virus might have changed our whole reproduction system. There will be a lot, time will show, or might even in this case not even show, how this virus have affected the fertility. And not just in direct ways, but also in indirect ways. We know the population was under lockdown, that has caused a lot of stress levels, that it just changed a lot. And we do not implement that, and we do not talk about that regarding the fertility issues. Whereas I believe that data will show that it might have had a huge impact, and in the future it will have impact. And we're just still talking about the age decline and the oocytes quality. Well, I believe there are a lot of things happening in the meanwhile that we should also pay attention to. And at the end of my presentation, I would like to say that awareness is really important, not just for the patient, but also for us. We need to keep track in what's going on actually on the regular basis, and then to revert that into data so that this data could use us to make a proper conclusion. And I already said about the fertility preservation. It's good to tell the patients and always to know that they have their option, not just everything is okay so they can wait and time passes. And of course, always tell them that life choices can affect of being able to conceive. There are things that we can change. There are things that we cannot change, but there are things that we can change. And most of my colleagues already mentioned them. I wouldn't just repeat myself. And that would be that. This is very important that we stay informed. This is a very complex issue. It includes many things, the economics. In order to eat healthy, you need good, stable incomes. In order to have good, stable incomes, you need good economy. So in the end of the presentation, everything is connected. And we are very important part of that change. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Ragosheva. I actually have a question for you before passing to our next speaker. Considering what you presented to us, we would like to know, like, a top 3, in your opinion, most significant modifiable risk factors for infertility that couples should be aware of. And also a top 3, let's say, lifestyle changes that you would recommend in order to improve their chances of conception. Thank you.
So in my country, the top 3 is actually connected with tubal patency, and the second one is regarding the fertility age. So it would be wise to make programs for STDs in a very young age. So that this should be a national issue, like a national screening program that will prevent the sexual transmitted disease. The other ones are making the awareness regarding the age, the ones that I was saying that we just don't tell the patients everything is good, come back for a checkup next year. We tell them, okay, everything is good, but you know, next year you will be older than this year, and you should always consider if the childbearing, because it's age related, and everything on this planet is age related. And our life is age related, so everything we count is with aging. So we tell them, okay, everything is good, but next year you'll be older, and please consider the fertility preservation techniques. So either oocyte cryopreservation, or just make a thorough think about your life and when would you like to become a mom? And once you repeat that every checkup, every year for 3 years in a row, the 4th year, she will become aware. She will say, oh yeah, well, yeah, it's like really important. The doctor is telling me all the time. In my country, we have a huge discrepancy. The primary care gynecologists tell them, oh, it's great with you. And once they want to become pregnant at the age of 37, now well, I will make some hormonal changes and I will refer you to a specialist. And then we have a huge gap. The woman that was thinking she's quite young, because only she might felt that way, because nobody told her that she's not young in fertility mode. She is quite actually on the edge, upper edge, if she's 37, right? But if we tell the patients, if we inform them, and if they keep educated, and that's our responsibility, then might some things be changed. The other things like global economy, the food that we eat, the healthiness of the food that we eat, the pollution, I'm not sure we can make a huge impact, but these are the changes that we can make about the STDs and proper education that is age-related. Regarding the viruses, we should always protect ourselves in the best way, not just from the reproductive point of view, but also for the whole health, whether it is for the male or for the female, and always give the good precautions about that, how to keep their good health.
Thank you. I completely agree with you. And I also think that we should introducing this element of education of the population also about social freezing at a younger age. So that the young girls, you know, they might know their opportunities that they have in case they would like, you know, to follow up a career, because sometimes this is also an issue that, exactly like you pointed out in the first slides, the fact that they don't know about what they are their, you know, how to say, options. Sometimes it gets them to the age when it's a little bit too late. Thank you very much, Dr. Gosheva. And I will pass right now to our next speaker, Dr. Shady Salem, who is a consultant of obstetrics, gynecology and IVF, president of Arab Society of Fetal Medicine and Surgery. And he is also a chief board of New Cleopatra Women Health Center and the board member of World Cosmetic Gynecology Society and coordinator of IVF diploma. Dr. Salem, you have the floor, please.
Many thanks, my dear Dr. Alexandra, for this nice introduction. I will talk today about a very important topic for all doctors, a resident doctor, specialist, and also consultant. I will talk about sonographic features of lung maturity. So we talk about the termination of pregnancy. Termination of pregnancy before spontaneous labor in non-routine patients represent a major challenge to clinicians. We should wait between fetal risk from iatrogenic prematurity and maternal and sometimes fetal risks from continuation of pregnancy. There is no problem for us for the primigravida lady without any complications in the pregnancy for the lady or for the baby. But there are three clinical situations we must detect the dating of pregnancy to assess the fetal lung maturity. As in the first situation is preterm patient at high risk for imminent delivery secondary to premature labor. The second situation, women at high risk pregnancy, women whom early delivery is mandated by maternal and or fetal indication, a severe preeclampsia, IUGR, chronic hypertension or diabetes. Patient with previous cesarean section with uncomplicated pregnancy but unsure of her dates. The problem in this lecture is the lady may not be sure from her date, and the lady don't make a first trimester scan for Crower ambulance, and the lady don't make second trimester scan for dating of pregnancy, and the first time to see this lady in the third trimester. So there is a very difficult situation for us to make a dating for this lady. And also we need to do assessment of fetal lung maturity in former two categories is less critical. Since maternal or fetal factors may dictate immediate delivery, regardless the status of fetal lung maturity. So how we can detect the lung maturity? The gold standard in detection of fetal lung maturity is amniocentesis to make some investigation on amniotic fluid, as lysine sphingomyelin ratio must be more than 2, presence of phosphatidylglycerol, lamellar body count, surfactant albumin ratio. All these investigation in amniotic fluid can help us to take a decision if this lung of this fetus is mature or no. But amniocentesis is an invasive technique with a complication rate of up to 15% in the third trimester of pregnancy. As you know, the amniocentesis complication in the second trimester about 1 to 1.5%. But in third trimester, the complication increased to be 15%. Maternal complications due to amniocentesis include infection, bleeding, Rh isoimmunization. Also, there is a fetal complications, include fetal injury or fetal demise. It's more dangerous or contraindication, amniocentesis more dangerous or contraindicated in obese patients in case of oligohydramnios and if the placenta is located anteriorly. Also, repeated amniocentesis if the analysis yields premature results is another cause of disparate to both doctor and mother. This is a logic to ask the lady to come every week to do amniocentesis to check if the lysine sphingomyelin ratio become more than 2. This cannot be done practically for mother or for doctor. So what we can do when we can take a decision of labor of this lady? We need something easy to do, non-invasive, and also safely repeatable, also must be cheap. All these criteria are present in ultrasound. But as you know, biparietal diameter, femur length, head circumference, and abdominal circumference in the third trimester, this is unsuitable for dating due to there is 3 weeks more or less inaccurate. So this normal biometry, we take it in the second trimester, inaccurate in the third trimester for assessment of lung maturity. So what we can do? Yes, we need a qualitative ultrasound parameters which can reflect the lung maturity. So what is the name of these parameters, ultrasound parameter, to detect the lung maturity? The first one is placental maturity. Second one is free-floating particles in amniotic fluid. Third one is fetal lung echogenicity. Fourth one is fetal intestinal indices. Fifth one is fetal epiphyseal ossification center. 6 is thalamic echogenicity. 7 is pulmonary artery Doppler. And the last parameter is length of the fetal kidney. We will talk about each one in details. What about placental maturity? At 1979, Granum reported that since the placenta is a fetal organ, it should mature in a fashion similar to that of fetal lung. So we must look for placenta. If we find the placenta mature, this means the lung also become mature. Granum classified placental maturation into 4 grades: grade 0, grade 1, grade 2, and grade 3. And Granum take amniocentesis from all grades of placenta, and he find the lysine over sphingomyelin ratio more than 2 in all cases of placenta grade 3. So Granum tell us, when you see placenta grade 3, don't worry, and you can deliver this lady due to the lysine over sphingomyelin ratio more than 2, according to Granum paper. This is grades of placenta. All of us know the grade 0 and grade 1, grade 2, and grade 3. All of us know that. But at 1985, Kazi makes some modification on the Granum paper and make modified placental grading. And Kazi tell us the placenta may be immature placenta, and he used the Granum classification as placenta become immature if it is grade 0, grade 1, or grade 2. Placenta intermediate if placenta is partially grade 3. Mature placenta, this means placenta totally grade 3. The second parameter in detection or diagnosis of lung maturity is free-floating particles in amniotic fluids. What about the free-floating particles in amniotic fluid? All of us know the skin of the baby are covered by the flakes of fetal vernix. This vernix caseosa can be present in the amniotic fluid, floating in the amniotic fluid. The vernix caseosa present in the amniotic fluid, it is multiple linear densities from 2 to 5 millimeter in length, suspended but gradually settling in amniotic fluid. Fetal movement causes a movement of these particles, simulating a blizzard. Presence of free-floating particles, this is not reliable, detected as early as 15 weeks of pregnancy, but measurement of these free-floating particles is very important for diagnosis of lung maturity. If you measure the free-floating particles in the amniotic fluid and you find it less than 3.8, these will predict respiratory distress syndrome. But if you measure free-floating particles and you find it more than 5.1 millimeter, this is a useful sonographic index for fetal lung maturity. So how we can measure the free-floating particles? You will bring a bucket of amniotic fluid and make zooming on it, and you can measure the free-floating particles from here to here. If it is more than 5.1, this means the lung of the baby become mature. The third parameter for lung maturity is fetal lung lever ratio. Also, we can use the lung 3D volume for the lung to detect the maturity of the lung. The fourth parameter is fetal colonic grading. As we know, meconium present in the large intestine. Meconium become firstly as like water, as water present in the urinary bladder or the stomach. Then meconium become more solid than the water present in the stomach or urinary bladder, but not solid like the echogenicity of the liver. And after that, meconium become solid as the echogenicity of the liver. So according to these changes in the echogenicity of the meconium present in the colon, we do intestinal index. The intestinal index grade 0, colon is not identified. Grade 1, echogenicity, of meconium present in colon is equal to echogenicity of water present in bladder and stomach. Grade 2, echogenicity of meconium is more dense than the bladder, but less than the echogenicity of the liver. Grade 3, the echogenicity of meconium present in colon is equal to the echogenicity of the liver. And if the meconium present in colon become in the same echogenicity with the liver, this means the lung become mature. So the intestinal index, grade 3, this is one of the parameter of lung maturity. This is the meconium present in the colon. The fifth parameter is fetal epiphyseal ossification center. During fetal life, there is 3 ossification centers appear in the perinatal period. The 2 ossification centers around the knee joint, which the first one is distal femoral epiphyseal ossification center. The second one is proximal tibial epiphyseal ossification center. And the last one is the proximal humeral epiphyseal ossification center. The first epiphyseal ossification center is distal femoral epiphyseal ossification center, which appear at 30 weeks and reaches 5 millimeter at gestational age more than 37 weeks. The second ossification center appear is proximal tibial epiphyseal ossification center, which appear at 35 weeks and reaches to 3 millimeter at gestational age more than 37 weeks. Rate of growth of proximal tibial epiphyseal ossification center is more than that of distal femoral epiphyseal ossification center. Therefore, it catches the proximal the distal femoral epiphyseal ossification center at gestational age more than 38 weeks. So one of the audience can ask me, but where is this ossification center? Please look with me. This is shaft of femur, and this is knee joint, and this is distal femoral epiphyseal ossification center. If you see this ossification center, this means this lady pregnant in baby more than 30 weeks. Then you measure it. If you find it more than 5 millimeter, this means this lady pregnant in baby more than 37 weeks. If you find this distal femoral epiphyseal ossification center and the proximal tibial epiphyseal ossification center are equal, or the difference is less than 1 millimeter, this means this baby more than 38 weeks pregnancy. And the last epiphyseal ossification center is the proximal humeral epiphyseal ossification center, which appear at the 38 weeks. So if you see the distal femoral epiphyseal ossification center equal to proximal tibial epiphyseal ossification center, or the difference is very small, less than 1 millimeter, or you find the proximal humeral epiphyseal ossification center, this means this baby more than 38 weeks, which means for us the lung of this baby is mature. So you can deliver this lady. The next parameter for lung maturity is to measure the length of the kidney. If you find the length of the kidney 4 centimeter plus or minus 1.7 millimeter, this means the lung of the baby become mature, so you can deliver this lady. You see how to measure the kidney of the baby. You can bring this view and measure the length of the kidney. If it is more than 3.8, this means the baby is 38 weeks. The next parameter is thalamic echogenicity. All of us know how to bring a transthalamic view of the baby. Transthalamic view of the baby to take a measurement of head circumference and biparietal diameter. This is 2 thalami. You see, this is 2 thalami present here. These 2 thalami are, when become more echogenic, with the echogenicity, like the echogenicity of the bone, this means the lung of the baby become mature. Last one is fetal pulmonary artery Doppler. You bring 4-chamber view. After that, you rotate the probe to the right shoulder of the baby to bring the aorta arising from left ventricle. Then you continue in rotation of the probe to bring right ventricle and arising from it the pulmonary artery. If you do a Doppler for pulmonary artery and calculate the acceleration ejection time, if the acceleration ejection time ratio cut point more than this number, this also can predict the lung maturity of this baby. So we can conclude our lecture. The parameter, biparietal diameter, head circumference, abdominal circumference, femur length is inaccurate to make dating of pregnancy in 3rd trimester. So we can use another parameter, as the placenta must be totally grade 3, amniotic fluid free, floating particles must be more than 5.1, colon must be grade 3, which means the meconium present in the colon with the same echogenicity as the liver. Fetal epiphyseal ossification center, if the proximal humeral epiphyseal ossification center is present, or the distal femoral epiphyseal ossification center and proximal tibial epiphyseal ossification center are equal, or with a little difference less than 1 millimeter, this means the lung become mature. Also, we can compare the echogenicity of the lung to liver. Also, when the thalamic echogenicity become echogenic as echogenicity of bone, this also a parameter. Fetal kidney length, if the fetal kidney length is 4 centimeter plus or minus 1.7 centimeter, this means the lung is mature. And last one, pulmonary artery Doppler, if the acceleration ejection time ratio cut point more than this number, this means the lung of the baby become mature. And many thanks for you. And I am ready for question.
Thank you very much, Dr. Salim. It was an amazing presentation, really insightful and with a lot of novelties from the domain. I do have a question, and it might be repeating a little bit of the information that you already presented, but this is an opportunity to maybe to develop a little bit on the topic. So besides the floating particle, the free floating particles, what other specific sonographic features are most indicative of fetal lung maturity?
Most important one is epiphyseal ossification center. Before at the past, if there is turbidity in the amniotic fluid, tell us before there is fetal distress. But now the high technology machine, as you know, the amniotic fluid is not clear water. The most component of the amniotic fluid is urine. Urine is not clear water. Also, vernix caseosa fall from the skin of the baby and floating in the amniotic fluid. So the free floating particles is now very important for detection of lung maturity, but the most important parameter in this parameter is the epiphyseal ossification center.
Thank you very much, Dr. Salim. I will leave the opportunity to my colleague speakers and panelists to address you further questions in the chat box, because right now we're going to take a short break of 10 minutes. We are at the half of this IVF webinar. So thank you very much, Dr. Salim, and we will see each other exactly in 10 minutes. Thank you.
For you, my dear. Thanks a lot.
Aqua Carpatica nu este singura apă extraordinară din România. Avem 60% din izvoarele Europei. Izvoare cu apă folosită terapeutic de acum 1600 de ani. Exportam apă la Constantinopol acum 800 de ani. Ape extrase de la sute de metri adâncime. Ape ce izvorăsc din păduri virgine sau ape premiate internațional. Avem și cea mai pură apă minerală din lume, iar apele din România continuă să se întreacă între ele. Încearcă noul izvor Aqua Carpatica, la fel de pur și cu gust unic datorat concentrației speciale de săruri. Aqua Carpatica din România, patria apelor minerale.
INCDT Combodi is Romania's unique R&D institute for gas turbines, dedicated to aerospace with application in the energy field. With more than 20 years of scientific proficiency, the Institute specializes in scientific research, design, testing, and production of innovative and sustainable equipment, such as aviation gas turbines, high-speed bladed machinery, and compressing equipment for natural gas market, focusing on consumption reduction and environmental protection. Working in accordance with a certified quality assurance system, Combodi proves its local and international proficiency through a significant number of international awards, involvement in high-enterprise European framework programs, and numerous partnerships with companies such as Safran Group, MT Aerospace, Pratt & Whitney, Onera, DLR, GHH Rand, MAN Diesel, and Turbo. The Institute seeks for new partners in the aerospace field, energy market focusing on gas extraction and transportation, and machine engineering industry. Combodi Institute, experienced partner for innovative and reliable solutions.
Welcome to Guarantee BBVA, a place where we create opportunities for our customers. For more than a quarter of a century, we have held on to our core value of customer comes first. We think big is ingrained in our DNA. We Are One Team reflects our collaborative, inclusive and supportive work environment. Investing in our people is one of our top priorities. Join us on our journey to create opportunities in Romania. Together, we can achieve great things.
Right now, I just want to make sure that all our speakers are online. And we will follow with our next speaker, who is Alina Comănescu. She's a communication expert and founder of the Romanian Community Health Association. Alina, nice to meet you. Welcome to our IVF webinar. You have the floor.
Thank you for having me for the second time. I'm trying to share my just let me know if you can see my my presentation.
Yes, all good. We can see it.
But I think that I forgot to enter the. So this is it. Hello, my name is Alina Comănescu, and for the past 10 years, I'm a patient advocate, mainly active in cancer area. But right now, I decided also to cover this important issue of infertility, mainly because more and more young people are diagnosed with cancer. So they are facing infertility problems. So I thought that maybe a national campaign on infertility as a main problem would be more than welcome in order to help our government to promote, in fact, to address the problematic of low birth rate. Thank you for my previous speakers for setting the context for this important national campaign. But as you know, according to some surveys that were performed 4 years ago and 5 years ago and 1 year ago, they found out that visiting infertility specialists, the number of people seeking assistance from infertility specialists has increased to 46% compared to 38% in the study conducted 5 years ago. So, of course, this problem ought to be addressed, and thus the IVF program, the national IVF program, that was developed, implemented by the Ministry of Family, appeared last year. It was a wonderful opportunity for infertile couples to have access to the fund in order to get the IVF procedure done. So, according to the survey that was performed by Ministry of Health, the awareness of the IVF program was nearly half of the couples, I mean 49%, were aware of the national IVF program, with 44 of them considering it a source of funding. I think that in retrospective, if we are talking about access to this kind of money, the access was relatively easy, but unfortunately not all the money were well spent. So many couples had the vouchers and didn't use it, and that's why this year's program was a little bit more transparent, but also focused on following the money, because they launched the platform where any couple or any person, individual person that could prove that she's facing fertility problems could apply for getting the money. So why this national awareness campaign? Because we right now are attending a very important event that is focusing on the security of Romania, and unfortunately infertility is becoming a public health, a national security issue in Romania, and in our partners, in our opinion and our partners' opinion, necessitating the following approach. First, boosting birth rates in Romania, thus encouraging more birth to address the declining population. And because you may know that I think that in 2021 Romania recorded the fewest live births since 1930. So of course this will have a negative impact in the pension system balance, and we are trying to ensure sustainability and stability in country's pension system. So we started to think, what do we want to do with this campaign? We wanted to publicly advocate for the cause of infertility and to bring it onto the public agenda in Romania, obtaining support in all aspects, including financial, because when we started our campaign on the 21st of March, the national IVF program was only, let's say, a suggestion or a future project. And we wanted also to have some information campaign for infertile couples, but not at least counseling couples with fertility issues. As the doctors and professor before me emphasized, many infertile couples are coming to the doctors around 40 years old of age, and they wanted a child. So the main topic on the event that we have organized on the 21st of February 2024 at the Palace of Parliament, it was a huge event, and I think that all the relevant stakeholders attending the event. It was organized in partnership with the Senate Health Committee, and we wanted two things. First, the context setting, because we wanted to have a real and very, how to say it, not only professional but applied discussion with all the stakeholders on the burden of infertility in Romania, in order to summarize current evidence and action direction and launch of the campaign together for the health and fertility, because we wanted to map the strategies to address the critical issues and promote health and fertility in the country. I think that I can give you some pictures from the event that we've organized at the Parliament. As you can see, almost who's who in the infertility field was there, and we decided to carry on the campaign over a period of 9 months from March to November in the following cities: Craiova, Iași, Deva, Cluj, Brașov, and Constanța. And until now, of course, we started with Bucharest with the launching of the event, and we continued with right now Craiova, and I can no. Before that, one main, I think that element or the distinctive element of the campaign was this branded tent, because it was a tent that we intended to place it in the most prominent places in all the 7 cities. So we started with Bucharest in the Eroilor Park, Heroes Park. It's a park where one of the busiest subway station is located. So we organized in May this stand in order first to educate the people regarding the infertilities and the risk of infertilities, and they should be aware that there are gynecologists and urologists that are specialized in the infertility problems. And we also wanted to conduct a survey amongst the general public in order to assess their knowledge and their perception upon the infertility problems. The second event was organized in Craiova in the end of April, and again we started with an event where all the relevant stakeholders of the county attended, and also the general public that was interested in finding relevant information regarding both infertility issues, but also IVF launching agenda. and I was a little bit surprised by the fact that the Dolj County had in the previous year an IVF program financed by the county council. I think that they've already know the procedures and the mechanism in order to implement the IVF program in their county. And also we visited our tent that it was placed nearby in the center of the city, in the park nearby of the county house, where we've organized the event with the relevant stakeholders. In June, we went to Deva. It is my birthplace, so it was a very touchy moment, because I'm also a patient with infertility problems. And I was very happy by the fact that all the relevant stakeholders attended the event. More to this, the first baby that was, I'm sorry, I've done something very bad. How can I go back? I will start from the beginning. I'm sorry. I was touched by the fact that the first child that was conceived through the IVF in my county, the parents came as an ambassadors and let's say the bearer of hope to convince the infertile couple to apply for IVF and to continue fighting for getting a child. So we are now preparing for the next 3 events that will be organized in Brașov, in Iași, and in Constanța. And I just want to send a big thanks to our partners. That is the Romanian Society of Obstetrics and Gynecology, the Romanian Society of Oncofertility. I want to be parent to it's the name of the association of people with cancer, and the Romanian Association for Premis, that is another NGO that is our partner. And of course, without our supporters, we weren't able to develop and implement this important campaign. So a big thanks to our supporter, Merck Romania and Memorial Romania. And just a spoiler alert, we've just finished today the report on infertility related to cancer in Romania. So we wanted to map the disparities, how we want to identify how to address the disparities, how to promote awareness, and how to support the cancer survivors in the fights against infertility. And I'm happy to tell you that I will present this report in 2 days, on the 11th of October, at the National Congress of National Medical Oncology Society. So thank you very much, and we are hoping to continue our campaign also next year, and we are welcoming any partners and supporters that they are interested in this wonderful campaign. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, Ms. Comănescu, for everything that you are doing. That is truly inspiring for everyone all over the world. And just a small question, we can follow up on this event that is due in 2 days online, or it will be only locally transmitted?
I have to ask the organizer. I think that is not hybrid. I think that it's only in person event, but anyhow we will announce that we will upload this draft, because it's not the entire report. It's only the only the peak of the problem, and it will be also translated in English, and hopefully next year we will have a larger report.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
We will pass right now what Professor Jean Kaleja used, who is specialized in clinical embryology at the University of Malta. Ms. Kaleja, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. It was very interesting hearing the previous presenter, Ms. Comanescu. I'm very interested and I'm very keen to collaborate with you. And I hope you'll find my presentation useful because it links very much to the work that you are doing. So what I'm going to be talking about is fertility preservation and oncofertility. My background, as Ms. Galan has already said, so I come from the University of Malta. Sorry, I'm trying to, yes. And that's the University of Malta. We've just, this photo was taken only last week for our Freshers Week. And it's basically the main university for the nation. There are some smaller private universities, but the medical faculty, that's where it's situated. And as has been said in the beginning, yes, I'm an obstetrician gynecologist. I've done part of my specialization also in the UK. And my pet subject is embryology and infertility. And as you're going to see later on in the presentation, I'm now focusing more in oncofertility, so fertility preservation in cancer patients, in cancer survivors actually. So what is fertility preservation? So it is the process of saving or protecting eggs, sperm, or reproductive tissue so that a person can use them to have biological children in the future. And if we look at cancer statistics, so among children and young people, the incidence of cancer is rising globally. Just in 2020, more than 1.3 million cases have been diagnosed worldwide among adolescent and young adults. And approximately 1 out of every 300 children born in 2020, so they would be like 4 years old by now, is expected to develop cancer before reaching the age of 19. So fertility preservation oncology is an issue. Why? Because the loss of reproductive potential is one of the most distressing adverse consequences of successful cancer treatment. So yes, we've become very good, in such a rate that it is now possible to speak of successful cancer treatment, of actually being cured of cancer. But of course, we now need to think of what cancer survivors will need. And reproductive potential is very important because we know that it could be the cancer itself, but very often the treatment that is administered to them adversely affects the quality of life, especially the reproductive potential. So preserving fertility is the most frequently reported concern by young people diagnosed with cancer, especially young people, because they wouldn't have started their family yet, given their young age. Yet, to date, even if we talk of the more developed countries, not just in Europe, but in the world, it still remains the least serviced among various health systems in Europe. So coordinating fertility preservation activities across Europe is very important, and it has to be a multifaceted endeavor. So when we talk of fertility preservation, we talk of male fertility preservation, which overall, at least in the post-pubertal boys, is quite established, and female fertility preservation, which, again, thanks to advances also in social freezing, social egg freezing, it also has led to a lot of developments in recent years. So just to summarize, what type of preservation there is available to date. Of course, so I've already mentioned sperm preservation. So sperm banking has been around for a very long time. It's quite simple, straightforward, not expensive. Of course, gonadal sheathing, especially during radiotherapy, testicular sperm extraction, and also testicular tissue cryopreservation. That is especially important if you're talking of prepubertal boys. In case of women, it is possible, of course, to have the gonadal sheathing, that's especially if the patient is receiving radiotherapy, but also ovarian follicle culture, ovarian oocyte culture, and ovarian tissue culture. And of course, it is also possible to have embryo preservation. So if there is enough time to carry out the full IVF before the actual cancer treatment happens, it's also possible, assuming that the patient already has a partner. So I'm going to focus a bit more on egg freezing. So it's the collection and storage of eggs from a woman for use at a later date. As we said, it does provide an insurance. And in fact, most of our knowledge has come from social freezing, which is used as an insurance for when fertility declines. And of course, egg freezing reduces the need for egg donation, because yes, it is true that it is possible for cancer survivors to use donor eggs. But you can understand the moral issues, the ethical issues, and even the wish to have biological children of their own. So what is egg freezing? It's essentially an IVF cycle without an embryo transfer. So it usually approximately takes about 10 to 12 days, starting from day 1 of the period. It involves FSH injections daily, together with the antagonist, and then the eggs are collected, same as it is in the first part of an IVF cycle. It does mean that you have at least 2 weeks, assuming that the period is due soon, or if there is no period, of course you have to induce the period and then get the stimulation. So there is a time issue. And this is again assuming that the woman has already started cycling, because if we're talking of a prepubertal girl, then of course that you have to go for ovarian tissue freezing. So if you're going for egg freezing, you have to aim to freeze as many eggs as can be safely collected. So the Human and Fertility and Biology Authority in the UK, they actually suggest that approximately 12 eggs are needed to be frozen for the best chance of pregnancy from infertile couples. And the reason being that there is what we call the egg freezing funnel. So assuming that you start off, in this case, like with 15 eggs, leading to a live birth, ultimately, with the attrition that you get when the eggs are warmed, thawed, and then fertilized, and then the growth to the blastocyst stage, assuming, you choose only the normal ones, ultimately, with 15 eggs, there is where you have the possible chance of having at least one live birth. Again, just a small note about the technique of egg freezing. Nowadays, the most units use vitrification, which is faster. It doesn't have high levels of cryoprotectants, but it is faster, and definitely there is no ice crystal formation, therefore no damage. Reducing the damage to the egg, especially both while freezing and while thawing, as opposed to slow freezing. And yes, so even if we're talking of young patients, like if a patient is under 35, her chances are quite good of having chromosomally normal oocytes. Of course, the older she gets, the more chances of problems. So, potential solutions for fertility preservation. Of course, biobanking. And by biobanking, I would like also to make a note about virtual biobanks, because, if you take a big country, for example, like Romania, then, maybe the hospital where that particular patient is might not have biobanking facilities. Therefore, there could be, biobanks in neighboring regions within the same country, or maybe even outside of the country, and there would be a database which would tag those oocytes to that patient, and therefore when that patient's cancer treatment is ready, then of course they can resort to their tissue or eggs within that particular biobank. Of course, it's very important to have harmonization of the digitalization of patient data, including treatment cycle, storage of tissue. And here I would like to give a bit of insider information about a project which is being carried out by ESHRE. I'm part of this consortium. It's called the EUMAR project, which aims basically to construction of a data flow system which is beneficial to all stakeholders, including the clinics and patients. And the aim is standardization and definition of precise medical assisted reproduction parameters and development of a technical solution and introduction of a coherent coding system for the prospective follow-up of prospective care, of reproductive care. So this, of course, this EUMAR project is really an overarching standardized web-based data registry in the EU related to medical assisted reproduction. Of course, it's not only for fertility preservation in cancer patients. This is even for the routine IVF treatment. But given that we are very much aware that patients travel, I mean, now Europe, I mean, with increased mobility across regions and across countries, it is very important, I mean, to be able to standardize these data registries, because if you have a patient who maybe because of treatment, I mean, had to move to a different region or a different country, and then, you know, they survived their treatment, they survived their cancer treatment, and then eventually, you know, they decide to move yet to another country. I mean, it's very important that if tissue has been preserved at a particular place, at a particular time, that it is traceable and linked to that patient. So, key messages. So, digital solutions to play a crucial role in the expanded field of oncofertility. It is of utmost importance that there is development, dissemination, and exploitation of fertility and preservation-specific guidance, toolkits, educational resources, in order to facilitate the adoption of standardized, multidisciplinary, evidence-based healthcare services across partner institutions in European countries and beyond. So in conclusion, there is an urgent need to revamp, optimize, and modernize care provision pathways to incorporate fertility preservation treatments into the existing health systems. This is particularly relevant to deprived and underserved minority communities who often struggle to access such specialized treatments, leading to significant long-term health inequality. Effective networking, knowledge sharing, and stakeholder education is therefore key to involve a real change beyond the status quo of cancer care provision. And last but not least, again, tying with the previous presentation by Ms. Comanescu, we are actually working on submitting a grant for a cost proposal called Coordination of Fertility Preservation Activities Across Europe. It's called Confetti. We will know whether we have won this grant by early next year, I think sometime around April, May. And in that case, I mean, you are very welcome, I mean, both clinicians and especially patient advocacy groups to be part of this consortium. So thank you very much. And are there any questions? I mean, there's my email, just in case you'd like to contact me for more clarifications.
I will address your question, like what is it in your opinion, the best approach, so to say, to the decision-making process with patients regarding these options prior they start their oncological treatment, because we know it's a sensitive subject, and not most of them are willing to discuss about it. So what would be, in your opinion, the best approach to this difficult conversation?
I think, I mean, as you rightly said, it is a difficult conversation and it has to be individualized and tailor-made to the individual patient. Because, of course, I mean, you might have a patient in front of you who is a child of 5 years old. And of course, in that case, you have to involve the parents or the legal guardians who already are under shock, knowing that their child has cancer, and then having to deal with making the decision of fertility preservation. But I mean, it is our duty to start the discussion. So it is important to make them aware. And in a way, one way that you could frame it is that, of course, there is hope, and that although the first hurdle is actually to get this patient in front of you cured of cancer, but not only that, that you're actually, you know, thinking long term. So the way that it could be framed, I mean, the way I would frame it if I have such a couple with their child recently diagnosed with cancer, I would frame it that we need to look forward and thinking of when the child will actually become an adult. I mean, having been now cured and is a survival of cancer. And I think if you frame it that way, that will help with decision making. Of course, it becomes a little bit easier when the patient is of an age that they can take decisions. So again, it might vary for countries. So if I speak for myself, I mean, in Malta, it's usually 18, but I mean, those children between 16 and 18, you know, if you, in your opinion, I mean, they are understanding what you're telling them, yes, they are also invited to actually make a decision, but usually a legal guardian is there as well. So in that case, again, if you frame it with the fact that, yes, I mean, we are not only thinking of curing you, but you're actually going to survive and actually thinking of the future, I think that makes the conversation a bit easier.
Thank you very much. And thank you for the insightful presentation. I will also leave the opportunity to my panelist colleague speakers to address you any question that they have in the chat, and we will obviously take them at the end of the webinar. But for now, we will pass to our next speaker, Dr. Gunjav Gupta, who is a principal at the Gunjav IVF World, but also with tremendous participations and collaborations in London, in India, in Kiel, Germany, and in Clermont, France. Dr. Gupta, you have the floor.
Thank you, Alexandra. First of all, I will like to thank Dr. Shady and the team at Romania for inviting me. It's such a pleasure to be here and be a part of this leadership summit. I feel truly privileged to be a part of it. So I will not take much of the time. And of course, Professor Jean, your talk was excellent and really interesting. And I can see the passion with which you're working for it. And since I also love to work, I'm also working a lot in India about in egg freezing. So I'm sure going to connect with you for a lot more other things. So it will be great. Well, now I will go on to sharing my screen and take things from there. So basically, I'm going to talk about egg freezing. I'm going to talk about ultrasound, the 3D ultrasound versus hysteroscopy in infertility, and what is its role? How does it do? Basically the question is, are they friends? Are they enemies? How do we take things further from there? So, of course, Alexandra has been kind to introduce me already. And basically, all I like to say that we are a certified center for IVF training at India as well. And I have had a stint, worked in UK, worked in India, and a lot of other countries as well. So last year, I was also awarded the International Foxy Achiever Award at House of Commons, London. So basically, coming straight to the topic, TVS 3D versus hysteroscopy, who wins the battle? So there is a tug of war which is there, but the question is, is there really a war or they are friends? So basically, I'll discuss about the role of operative hysteroscopy in an infertile patient, and we will discuss live videos with case-based discussions. What does the evidence say? Evidence clearly says that three-dimensional transvaginal sonography can replace office hysteroscopy in detecting uterine anomalies in infertile patients. So it is really useful for people wherever we are just thinking of doing a diagnostic thing, and therefore it saves us from doing an invasive procedure, because the positive predictive value is 95.83 and a negative predictive value is also very great at 97.69%. So basically, it is
Dr.
positive.
Gupta, I apologize for the interruption. We are not showing the slides on the screen. If you can try to share it again.
Oh, sorry. Just give me 1 second. I will go back to Zoom and see. Let me do again. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, right now we can see it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm sorry for the inconvenience. So, right. Do you want me to start from the beginning, or are we okay to go ahead from here?
No, from wherever you think it's appropriate.
Right. So, just give me 1 second.
If you'd like to take it from the start, it's enough to close it and reshare the screen. And we're going to see it from the very beginning.
I think so. That will be better. Let me just escape this. I'll just undo the sharing bit. Can you see my screen now?
We do. Yeah, right now we don't. So yeah, you can start sharing again. It's perfect.
Yeah.
But make sure you are on the first slide of the presentation.
I'll do that. I'll go back.
Perfect. Now we can go back.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's from the very beginning. Thank you.
Yeah. Again. Why this thing is happening again? Why is it going in the small? I want this to be maximized. Just last time I'll take. Sure.
We can see it very clear. Yeah, it's perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. So basically, as I said, I'm going to talk about previous 3D versus hysteroscopy, its role in infertility. So the main thing is, what I always say is, whether they are friends or foes is the question. These are some images which I was there last year at House of Commons, London. So this is I talk about already. So basically coming is that TVS 3D, are they friends or they are enemies? As I always feel, and the advantage of 3D scanning is it is non-invasive. Of course, hysteroscopy has its role to play. And rather than going against each other, they are more friends. So basically, how we are going to go through the presentation is its role, the role of operative hysteroscopy, and live videos I'm going to show on case-based discussions. So basically, if we are talking about three-dimensional ultrasound, does it replace office hysteroscopy? Yes, it does to some extent, in the sense that the positive predictive value is 95.8%, and the negative predictive value is also very good at 97.69%, which is really, really high. So it can be considered as a first line investigation in a tool for infertility workup. So what is the role? Where do? We can diagnose almost everything when it comes to infertility, like endometrial polyps, cervical polyps, submucous myomas, unicornuate uterus, septums, foreign bodies, Asherman, endometrial hyperplasia, endometritis. So it's really, really useful there. So what is the role of hysteroscopy? Of course, hysteroscopy is safe, reliable, remains the gold standard when it comes to the direct visualization of the cavity. And it is useful if you are expecting more to simultaneously treat the patient rather than only doing a basic evaluation. So as I said, I'll be talking about the cases. So first comes the submucosal myomas. So depending upon their position, they lead to poor endometrial receptivity, and degeneration also leads to increasing cytokine production. So they affect the results when it comes to infertility. So what is the role of 3D? 3D is a valuable diagnostic tool. It tells us about the position of the submucous myomas, how to plan the surgery in case we need to remove them, less expensive than an MRI. And volume acquisition is also there, so you can plan and you can counsel the patients very, very well. The role is significant in type 0, 1, and 2 submucosal myomas, and the evidence clearly shows that even when submucous fibroids are less than 4 centimeters, 43.3% of the women who had a hysteroscopic myomectomy conceived, in comparison to 27.2 who did not conceive. So definitely ASRM says that we should go for hysteroscopic myomectomy in these patients. But when we are talking about type 3 fibroids, where they are less than 2 centimeters in size, then it might not be so effective to remove them. So how does the 3D scan do? This is a static image I'm having, in which we took a 3D images, and all these are real images of patients which we have scanned at our centers. And nowadays 3D scanning is so simple that you just draw a line, and with this image comes up which shows that there is a myoma. So once we knew this is exactly at the center of the cavity, so we knew we had to treat it, otherwise it will lead to implantation failure in this IVF patient. So this is the video I would like to share, say how we approached. So this is, we did the hysteroscopy in this patient, and as you can see, there is a myoma there. Here, I like to make a point that majority of the time, I prefer that I use scissors rather than Scollins knife, because I'm very skeptical about the damage to the endometrium, because we need this uterine cavity. So here, this is the myoma which was removed, and with the help of a tenaculum, we held it and easily took it out. So as you can see that by doing both the things together, it really helps us in going further. So next condition which we talk about will be Asherman syndrome, which is very, very common in India because we have increased incidence of infections, pelvic inflammatory diseases, and of course also tuberculosis is more common in our country, though things are much better now than before, but still we do have those cases. So, and of course, repeated DNCs and trauma to the uterus can lead to intrauterine synecdoche. So what is the role? The role of previous 3D ultrasound in diagnosing Asherman syndrome, it was seen, and this was a study which was done by Kashyap, and they said that 3D ultrasound can do an accurate assessment of this condition. So there are repeated studies which have shown that, repeated studies which have shown that the 3D ultrasound is pretty useful in the diagnosis of Asherman syndrome. And then when the sensitivity was calculated, of course, hysteroscopy remains the gold standard in these conditions, but 3D images have also been found to be consistent. Here I can say that we are doing this thing repeatedly, and we have found that we have a very, very good diagnosis rate with 3D scanning, and it helps us to diagnose the plan and counsel the patient, most importantly, whenever we are going for a hysteroscopy. Now I'll show you this image of this patient. Here we do, how we do, it is as simple as that. You can see we just do a sagittal section, draw a line, and this is how simple the 3D scanning has come. And here you will see that there will be a band which will come in the middle, which is very beautifully visible. See. So this patient, then when we did hysteroscopy, we could easily treat the patient. This is another patient who had, this is the static image of this patient who is having 3 bands here of Asherman syndrome. Now I'll show you how on hysteroscopy we did, and this patient actually had history of previous 3 IVF failures with no hysteroscopy was done, and she was having such dense band of adhesions. So what we did is we used scissors to dissect the bands, and after the bands were dissected, we did embryo transfer of this patient, and she was a patient with previous 3 failures. She conceived right in the first attempt. So that is the importance of doing these procedures. So definitely working hand in hand with both the things works beautifully. At the end, you can see the cavity will be beautifully reinstated. We cut right till we can see both the ostia in one line, and of course small blood vessels become visible, which shows that we have dissected up to the right plane. So you can see how different the cavity is now, and this lady conceived in her first attempt after this. Now I'll talk about a condition, endometrial polyp. We know polyps are very, very common, and most of the time they are not really dangerous things. But yes, what does the evidence show? That hysteroscopy for treating subfertility associated with suspected anomalies in this, the clinical pregnancy rate, which was achieved without polyp removal, was 28%. Whereas they achieved after removing the polyp, the success rate was 63%. So definitely, if you have a polyp which is more than 0.5 millimeter in size, located in the middle of the cavity, then it is preferably removed. Of course, what we do is we discuss with our patients and then accordingly go ahead and treat the patient. This is another patient who had this endometrial polyp in the middle of the cavity. So we did hysteroscopy for this patient, and then we removed it. This is again, see how the 3D images are taken. This is the scan being done, and as you can see, we could visualize the polyp very easily in the middle. It is localized right here, and then this is the video of this patient. We did a hysteroscopy for this patient, and we could remove it. This is the second patient whose ultrasound I had shown. We all know removing endometrial polyps are the easiest hysteroscopic surgeries and very rewarding. Sometimes we have also had patients who have not agreed for a polypectomy. Like they have said that they would like to really wait for it and see what can be done. In fact, we have a lot of such patients also, a series of patients who have had polyps on one side of the cavity. There, by the 3D scanning, when we know the exact location of the polyp, we have used it to the advantage and done an embryo transfer on the opposite side. And many of these patients have also conceived. So that is also an advantage when we do both the things together. This is another hysteroscopic removal of a sessile endometrial polyp. So this was a broad-based sessile polyp, much more vascular than the last one. So this, I just twisted it and took it out because it was sessile and a small portion was there. And this is how the cavity looks at the end of it. It is nice cavity, and then we did a transfer for her and she conceived after this. So it's very important to diagnose and treat at the same time because it helps. Now coming to uterine septums. Uterine septums, what does the evidence say? It improves the outcome in bad obstetric history. What's its role in infertility? And current data, what does it show? So basically, when it comes to previous 3D, it is highly accurate in diagnosis of uterine anomalies and has shown a strong agreement with MRI. The advantage is that the cost of MRI is much higher than that of a 3D scan. So it is much easier to do it. And also easier to do. It is less time taking also. MRI requires a lot of time. 45 minutes, people are claustrophobic. Lying in that console is not easy for everybody. So that is why it really gives an advantage. What do the guidelines say for the septum? Well, I would say there is a lot of discrepancy here because there is grade C evidence that insufficient data to conclude that uterine septum is associated with infertility. But again, the other things they says that hysteroscopic septum resection, excision is associated with improved clinical pregnancy rates. And there is a fair evidence that uterine septum contributes to miscarriage and preterm birth. So actually the evidence is pretty gray and the guidelines are also gray. What we do is that because there was another multi-centric study which was done, and then the result came was that uterine septum resection, the TRUST trial said that septum resection does not improve live birth rate as compared to expectant management. So that is why the evidence is always like what to do. So basically, if you talk about us, we say is, again. What we do usually is that, let me try and make this. Not getting a full screen here. So,
Dr. Gupta, let's continue like this.
So what we, just trying to see, I want to minimize myself and maximize the screen.
Okay.
So basically, the evidence, of course, as I said, is, just give me 1 second, just 1 second. I think it's the view which needs to change. Hello, my screen is not visible, right?
We can still see the slide with the septum resection versus expectant management.
You can see the slide full screen. Okay, so I'll continue this way. Basically, the thing is that the septum resection, the TRUST trials said that it does not improve. So what should we do? What we do in our patients is that we counsel the patient that the evidence is a little gray in this zone. If there is definitely a history of miscarriage or bad obstetric history, we do go in favor of septum resection. But otherwise, what we do is we suggest that you can plan the pregnancy as well. So finally, it is like a detailed discussion which helps us to reach to a conclusion as to what should be done. So sorry about it. Why it's again. Because actually, yeah, now it's much better. So So basically, this is a video I would like to show of this patient who came to us for we did a 3D scan for her. And here it shows that how beautifully you can recognize that there is a septum which is there. So this patient, of course, then we did, this is a static view. We calculated it was a septum. And then we did a septum resection for this patient because she came to us already with a history of miscarriage. And again, as I said, I always use scissors and have not ever had a problem in these patients about bleeding, what we are scared about most of the time. Because septums are generally avascular, very easy to remove. I've tried lasers as well, but scissors are the fastest. And there has never been a problem of bleeding, so we should be confident when we are doing a septum resection. And as you can see, the entire cavity will become beautifully visualized. We will be able to see both the osteas, and we know exactly where we have to go. And after that, the patient conceived naturally because this is the cavity which has been reinstated. There is the ostia, the entire septum has been gone, and eventually she conceived naturally after this. Another interesting case was this 36-year-old female who was referred to us with lost threads for IUCD, and she wanted to plan a second baby. So we did a 3D scan for her, and this is, it will show, because this lady wasn't sure what is happening, and beautifully we can see this inverted 3D IUCD, which is lost. So we knew that there is no way we could locate the threads without doing a hysteroscopy. So we did the hysteroscopy, and the moment we could see this threads hanging there. They're just lying above the internal os. So it was very plain and simple. We took hold of this with the polyp holding forceps and pulled it out. So it was straight and simple. So these hysteroscopy is just like a steth is for a physician. And if we are doing these things, it becomes very, very easy. So using these two things together always helps. We do a lot of subendometrial PRP as well, which has given us very good results in clinical pregnancy rates of almost 63% in our IVF failure patients. So we do platelet-rich plasma, which we prepare, and this was, I've been presenting, my posters have been accepted for the last couple of years at ESHRE as well, because we prepare the PRP in-house and then do a subendometrial injection of this. I've been doing it over the last 3 years, which has hugely improved my results in especially failure patients. We don't do for all. So these are the posters which we presented there. As I was talking to the doctor earlier, that yes, I've written a book for the patients as well on egg freezing. And because of these innovations, which I feel, the PRP and the hysteroscopy and 3D, we have extremely good results. And these are my center's results. In the end, the only take-home message which I have is that this is an era of three-dimensional transvaginal ultrasound. Diagnostic hysteroscopy has no additional value over 3D scan for diagnosis. However, the role of operative hysteroscopy for enhancing fertility enhancing surgical procedures cannot be denied. And thanks a lot for inviting me. And also I'd like to request that I'm starting a fellowship program, and I'd like to invite every one of you to, it will be a privilege if you will would like and come to us as a guest faculty for online screening. I will be getting in touch with you individually as well.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gupta, for the insightful presentation and also for the insightful videos, because it's not like every day we get to see into this precision the examination. I would have a question. Basically, what would be the key advantages and also the limitation of using the TVS 3D compared to the hysteroscopy? Because we talked about the advantages, but not so much about the limitations. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, that's a very nice question, I would say. Basically, see, what I would like to say that the only limitation to using a three-dimensional ultrasound is really the cost. Because I showed multiple videos for this reason only, because these machines are so advanced. I'm particularly not taking the name of the machine I'm using. but anybody can connect with me individually and I'll let you know. See, it is very simple. You just have to focus the uterus well in the sagittal plane, and just a simple line, which is a touch screen, you draw and you get it automatically. So no more it is that difficult three-dimensional scanning in which you used to work on all the planes, do it, and then the calculations and all that. It is very, very simple. The machine which I am using, and it is not the most expensive machine also, if you see all the machines which they come, which we use for advanced feto-maternal procedures. So it is pretty easy to use. It has, if you are good with TVS scanning, which you have to be if you are a fertility expert, then it has a very, very short learning curve. So that is an advantage. So I don't think there has been any disadvantage as far as the 3D scanning is concerned, I would say, except for the cost of the investment which goes in getting that machine.
Thank you very much for the answer. And thank you very much for the presentation. I think it would be helpful, and I'm also encouraging all the panelists maybe to leave, if they want, their contacts in the chat in case they have any questions regarding the presentation that you just had. I will pass now to our next speaker, Dr. Shireen Sultan, who is a specialist in maternal and fetal medicine consultant at the Royal Medical Service in the Kingdom of Bahrain. Dr. Sultan, if you are here with us, you have the floor.
Yeah. Thank you so much for inviting me on today. And thank you for Prof. Shadi to give me this opportunity to present. My slides are shown to you, or?
Yes, we can see them. Thank you.
Okay. I'll talk today about anemia and pregnancy. According to the CDC Control and Prevention, a hemoglobin or hematocrit value less than the 5th percentile of the distribution of hemoglobin or hematocrit in healthy reference population based on the stage of pregnancy is called anemia. So the two most common causes of anemia in pregnancy and puerperium are iron deficiency and acute blood loss. Iron requirements increase during pregnancy, and failure to maintain a sufficient level of iron may result in adverse maternal and fetal consequences. The classification is derived from iron supplemented population list. It depends on how much the hemoglobin level and percentage of hematocrit in first trimester and second trimester and third trimester. We have the hemoglobin of 11 and hematocrit level of 33% in first trimester considers anemia. On second trimester, if it's 10.5 gram per deciliter and 32% respectively in second trimester. And again, it will go back to 11 gram per deciliter and 33% respectively in the third trimester. Anemia classification is either acquired or inherited. Acquired is deficiency anemia, either in iron or vitamin B12 or folate, or hemorrhagic anemia or anemia of chronic disease, acquired hemolytic anemia, and aplastic anemia. Inherited in thalassemias and sickle cell anemia, hemoglobinopathy other than sickle cell anemia, and inherited hemolytic anemias. Physiological changes in pregnancy. There's increased iron requirement during the pregnancy because plasma volume expand by 40 to 50% and erythrocyte mass expand by 15 to 25% during singleton gestation. The greater expansion in plasma typically reflected by decrease in hemoglobin and hematocrit levels. The total amount of iron in the body is determined by intake, loss, and storage. There are approximately 2.3 grams of total body iron in women. Additional iron stores during pregnancy, they need an extra 1 gram support for this increased red blood cells mass and the fetus or placenta, and anticipated blood loss and vaginal delivery. Anemia classified by mean corpuscular volume, either microcytic if MCV is less than 80, or normocytic if it's 80 to 100. Macrocytic is more than 100. For example, microcytic anemia is iron deficiency anemia and thalassemia. And normocytic is hemorrhagic anemia and early iron deficiency anemia. In macrocytic, it's folic acid deficiency anemia and anemia associated with vitamin B12 deficiency. Anemia classified also by mechanism, either decreased in red blood cells production, like an iron deficiency anemia, or anemia associated with vitamin deficiency, or increased red blood cell destruction, like inherited hemolytic anemias and sickle cell and thalassemia, or acquired hemolytic anemias or hemorrhagic anemia. Today only I will cover iron deficiency anemia. Anemia, A, as lack of blood is anemia. So anemia is lack of blood. So low hemoglobin count or low hematocrit count. The RBCs, the erythrocytes, contain hemoglobin, which is important for carrying oxygen to other cells and tissues. The average lifespan of red blood cells is 120 days. So the iron is required for the production of red blood cells. Decrease in iron is causing iron deficiency anemia. The causes is less intake, more losses, and more utilization. Less intake, that means low dietary iron consumption, like a deficiency in eating a shrimp, beef, liver, or orange juice. Malabsorptive condition, like a celiac disease or Crohn's disease. GI surgeries, like sleeve surgeries. More losses and utilization, more losses like hemolysis, intravascular like TTP and DIC, and hemorrhage, menstruation, GI bleed and acute blood loss, more utilization, especially in pregnancy and growth and development. To diagnose, it's only CBCs, complete blood count, with low iron, low ferritin, less than 30, high transferrin, and TIBC, and MCV is less than 80 is called microcytic. They call the standard bone marrow biopsy, but we can just use the CBC as a diagnostic tool. Effect of iron deficiency anemia in pregnancy is causing low birth weight, preterm deliveries, perinatal morbidity and mortality, and can causing postpartum depression. How we screen them in pregnancy? We screen all the women in first trimester or at booking. When? Either in booking or first trimester. And we carry on screening as well on 24 weeks and 28 and plus 6 days. How? By doing the CBC and prefer smear in cases of asymptomatic women. The treatment always identify and treat the underlying causes. Iron supplementation, either oral or parenteral. Blood transfusion if hemoglobin is less than 6. Erythropoietin alone, we can use it or with the iron. Autologous transfusion is safe, and especially in Jehovah's Witnesses. Why we'll go for blood transfusion if hemoglobin less than 6? Because it's abnormal. It's causing abnormal fetal oxygenation. It's causing non-reassuring, non-stress test. It can cause oligohydramnios and decreased fetal cerebral vasodilatation and causing fetal death. So we can start transfusion if the hemoglobin is less than 6. This is iron supplementation. At oral, we're going first sulfate or first gluconate. And for the IV, it's iron dextran. And this is the end of my presentation. And thank you for listening me to the end.
Thank you very much. I have a question related to the specific laboratory parameters. I don't know if you will answer me this question, because since I'm working in a laboratory, so to say, I'm interested in this direction. So what specific laboratory parameters we should monitor to differentiate between the iron deficiency anemia and the anemia of chronic diseases in pregnant patients, because we know that this distinction actually can influence the treatment protocols. Thank you.
Yeah. Actually, the CBC, we're looking for iron and ferritin. Exactly, okay. The iron is reducing and ferritin is less than 30, is specific for iron deficiency anemia. Transferrin, if it's increased, that means it's unbound. Like the free one, that means it's unbound. So, and red distribution width, it's increased in iron deficiency anemia, which was not increasing in the chronic anemia. Okay, and mean corpuscular volume is less than 80. That means it's microcytic anemia. Okay, if it's more than from 80 to 100, that means normocytic. More than 100 is going with the chronic anemia.
Thank you very much, Doctor, for the answers. I will pass right now to our next speaker, Mr. Nawal Abdullah, who is actually a urogynecology consultant at the Royal Medical Services in Kingdom of Bahrain. You have the floor.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hi. Actually, I'm trying to share my desktop. It just seems to be... I don't know if you can see it.
Not at the moment, no.
Can you see it? No?
Not yet, no. Right now it's starting, so. But still we cannot, right now, yeah, we can see it. Thank you.
So good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Nawal, and I'm working in RMS, which is the Royal Medical Services of Bahrain. I know you have been talking all the day about something regarding IVF and pregnancy, and this is a totally different subject, which I'm sharing over here. So for the health of the woman, basically, we have the recurrent UTIs, and let us just talk about it. So in definitions, I'm pretty sure that every one of you actually is very familiar with those definitions. We have the acute and complicated urinary tract infection, which is the lower or the upper genitourinary tract, which is basically based diagnosing on the presence of urinary tract pathogens, and it is associated symptoms in otherwise healthy individuals. It could be without structural or neurological urinary tract abnormalities. Cystitis is the infection of the bladder. Polynephritis is the infection of the kidneys. And then we have the complicated urinary tract infection, which is cystitis, polynephritis, and patients with urologic abnormalities, immunocompromised conditions, or poorly controlled diabetes mellitus. Recurrent UTIs, at least 2 episodes of culture positive symptomatic UTIs in 6 months, or 3 or more in the past year. Asymptomatic bacteriuria, it is the presence of a bacterial growth on urine culture at MOF 10 graded 5 colony forming units, and the absence of signs and symptoms of UTI. Urosepsis is a systematic response to uropathogen leading to organ dysfunction. Now, diagnosis. Whenever you first see the patient with possible recurrent UTI, it's very important to obtain clarification surrounding the details of UTI events, including the UTI testing, culture results, whenever it's are available, as well as the current condition and preventing practices. Symptoms should be as well documented. Duration, response to the therapy. Symptoms are typically acute in onset, including dysuria, frequency, urgency, suprapubic or flank pain, hematuria, or decremented fever. What are the pathophysiology? We have for the premenopausal ladies, most of uropathogens will be originating in the rectal flora, and they will be colonizing the pre-urethral area and urethra, ascending to the bladder. In studies of young women, the frequency of sexual intercourse, a new sexual partner with the past year and the history of first UTI before the age of 15 increases the risk of recurrent UTIs. Now, increasing evidence suggests that the alteration of the normal vaginal flora, especially the loss of lactobacilli, may predispose the women to enteral colonization with E. coli, causing cystitis. In postmenopausal ladies, the urogenital microbiome undergoes changes as women ages, often reducing as a woman's natural defense mechanism against UTIs. The healthy menopausal vagina is known also to be largely colonized by lactobacilli. After menopause, decrease in the systemic and local estrogen levels might result in elevated vaginal pH, which causes fewer lactobacilli in the vagina. E. coli is the most common uropathogen. Preclinical data shows that the E. coli has a capacity to form intracellular bacterial communicates that will allow the bacteria to survive in the urinary bladder after the antibiotic treatment. How we will evaluate our patients? Physical examination should be including abdominal, urologic examination, as well as the pelvic examination to detect the manageable conditions, including genitourinary atrophy in a postmenopausal woman or urethral diverticulum. Post-void residual, actually, in a patient with neurologic diseases like the diabetes or significant prolapse. It should be actually also conducted. Radiological imaging of the upper and the lower urinary tract should only be considered in occasional scenarios, such as in patients with poor response to appropriate antimicrobial therapies, infection which is being caused by unusual organisms such as proteus, history of calculi, potential urethral obstruction, recurrent polynephritis, suspected urethral diverticula, or history of many UTIs during childhood. Evaluation. We can actually include cystourethroskopy in women with UTIs. It is actually controversial because the finding does not often alter the management. However, it is responsible to consider cystoscopy in patients with inadequate response to appropriate antimicrobial therapy, a gross hematuria, suspected urethral diverticulum, and suspected mesh or non-absorbable sutures material. It should also be considered in older patients suspected with bladder cancer. Acute infection, clinicians should obtain a urine culture and sensitivity with each symptomatic acute cystitis episode before initiating the treatment. Clinicians also should offer hydration and analgesia till the culture results are out. Clinicians should also treat the recurrent UTIs patients experiencing acute cystitis episodes with a short duration of antibiotics no longer than 7 days. What are the vaginal estrogen prophylaxis? Vaginal microbial changes associated with the menopause, lower systemic and local estrogen level have been raised the vaginal pH and decreased the lactobacilli in the vaginal flora. High quality evidence that the vaginal estrogen therapy can reduce the risk of recurrent UTIs, but there is a little evidence recommending one formulation over the other. These are the formulation, as you can see. There is vaginal tablets, vaginal rings, vaginal creams, which are being conducted over here with their own dosage. Now, antibiotic prophylactic, there is a large of evidence-based literature supporting the antibiotic prophylaxis for treatment of recurrent UTIs. The most recent systematic review identified in 28 trials The trials that compared the prophylactic antibiotics to placebo found that the antibiotics were associated with the decreased likelihood of experiencing at least one UTI recurrence, and there was no differences with comparing nitrofurantoin with other antibiotics. The most common adverse events associated with antibiotic prophylaxis, including gastrointestinal side effects, vaginal and oral candidiasis, and skin rashes. Nitrofurantoin especially was rare, but serious pulmonary and hepatic toxicity. Current recommendations are to avoid nitrofurantoin when we are using the creatinine clearance, which is below 30 ml per minute. And potential serious risk effects of long-term use should be discussed with the patients. The duration of prophylactic antibiotics in the literature ranges from 6 to 12 months and after stopping. The frequency of the UTI has been shown to resume prior to status of recurrent UTIs frequency. In clinical practices, the duration will vary from 3 to 6 months to 1 year with the periodic assessment and monitoring. These are the antibiotics prophylaxis. As you can see, trimethoprim, and we have the trimethoprim sulfamethoxazole, nitrofurantoin, cenflexicin, fosfomycin. Postcoital prophylactic recommended instructions for antibiotics prophylaxis related to sexual intercourse, including taking a single dose of antibiotic immediately before or after sexual intercourse. Dosing options for prophylactic including the following. As you can see, the thioprim with sulfamethoxazole, it can be 40 milligram or 80, or nitrofurantoin or cenflexicin. These are some strategies to prevent the recurrent UTIs. As you can see, cranberry supplements, lactobacillus probiotics, increasing the water intake, other preventive methods, D-mannose, methamphetamine, herb supplements, intravesical hyaluronic acid, biofeedback, and immunoactive therapy for preventing recurrent UTIs. However, we cannot recommend these agents due to the small number of trials. As you can see, this is just an image of all of those supplements. So what are the American Urological Association is saying to us? They are saying over the past few decades, our ability to diagnose and treat and manage the recurrent UTIs on the long term has evolved due to additional insights into the pathophysiology of the recurrent UTIs, a new appreciation for the adverse effect of repetitive. How do we do the guidelines statements? First of all, there is an evaluation. The clinician should obtain a complete patient history and perform a pelvic examination in women presenting with recurrent UTIs. To make a diagnosis for those recurrents, clinicians must document positive urine culture associated with prior symptomatic episodes. Also, you should obtain a repeat urine studies when an initial urine specimen is suspected for contamination, with consideration for obtaining catheterized specimen. A cystoscopy and upper tract imaging should not be routinely obtained, an index of the patient presenting with recurrent UTIs. Clinicians also should obtain urine analysis, urine culture, and sensitivity with each symptomatic acute cystitis episode prior to initiating a treatment in patients with recurrent UTIs. Clinicians may be offering a patient-initiated treatment, self-start treatment, to select a recurrent UTI patient with acute episodes while waiting for urine culture. Asymptomatic bacteriuria. Clinicians should omit surveillance of urine testing, including urine culture, asymptomatic in patients with recurrent UTIs. Also, you should not treat asymptomatic bacteriuria in those patients. What are the antibiotic treatments? As you can see, the clinician should be using the first-line therapy, nitrofurantoin, for example, thimerine, sulfamethoxazole, fosfomycin, depending on the local antibiogram of the treatment of those symptomatic UTIs in those women. As you can see, how is the cure rate? It is the highest actually in that thimerine, sulfamethoxazole, but it will be increasing also in the same setting, the resistance while the other is actually gonna work, but the resistance will be lower. The clinicians should also that treating the recurrent UTI patient experiencing acute cystitis episodes with shorter duration of antibiotics as responsible, generally no longer than 7 days. So you should treat your patients only within a duration of 7 days, and patients with recurrent UTIs experiencing acute cystitis episode with associated urine culture resistant to oral antibiotics, you can treat them with parenteral antibiotics for as short course as reasonable, generally no longer than 7 days. Following the discussion of the risk and benefits and alternative, clinicians might be prescribing antibiotics prophylaxis to decrease the risk for future UTIs in those women of all age previously diagnosed with UTIs. Non-antibiotic prophylactic, you might be offering cranberry prophylaxis for women with recurrent UTIs. Follow-up and evaluation, clinicians should not perform a post-treatment test for cure urine analysis or urine culture in asymptomatic patients. Clinicians should also repeat urine cultures to guide further management when UTI symptoms persist following the antimicrobial therapy. Estrogen in peri and postmenopausal women with recurrent UTIs, you should recommend vaginal estrogen therapy to reduce the risk of a future UTIs if there is no contraindication to the estrogen therapy. Thank you for listening to me and giving me this opportunity. I hope it was informative slides for you guys.
It was truly insightful. Thank you very much, Dr. Abdullah. And thank you very much for passing us through the treatment variants as well. I have a question. It's something related of the other factors, such as, for example, genetics, the anatomy and the lifestyle, and their influence on these preventive strategies for managing the recurrent urinary tract infection in women. So what do you think it would be? Thank you.
You're most welcome. Actually, if we are going to talk about genetics, genetics have nothing related to UTIs. It is just hygienic, and it is the anatomy itself. So you know that the ethnicity within the Asian ladies, because of the short perineum, they are much more prone to have UTIs, honestly, because the perineum is very short, whereas the rectum is very nearby the vagina, and sometimes because of hygienic, measures that they are using or how they are cleaning themselves, basically it can cause recurrent UTIs furthermore. And to be honest, during these days, everyone wants to use the hygienic betadine, washing up, whatever. And usually the ACOG does not really recommend that, because if there might be a chances of infection, you are actually increasing it to the upper part of the abdomen. You are actually ascending the infection rather than treating it. So we don't really recommend using any wash. And we want the ladies to maintain their own health by even doing the pelvic floor exercises and to maintain their own hygiene, so no more infection will be there. To have a good health, promote immunity for your body, so your UTIs will not be really that much high. And according even the public, public bathrooms, toilets, whatever, hygienic measures also should be really highlighted to the ladies, because they think only by sitting on the washroom and using it, they are cleaning only the tap path. They think that they are clean, but even the washing, the site of yourself, actually it can really affect you harming.
Yeah, it is. It's actually true. Thank you very much. If we don't have any other questions from the other speakers, I would like to take this opportunity to thank you very much, all of you, for participating in the IVF webinar, and also for taking part in the Bucharest Leaders Summit reporting for duty today. It was a long day, but super insightful, and I'm very grateful for all your speeches and presentation. And please follow up on the next conferences that we will have the next day as well. So thank you very much. And I encourage you, like I said before, to exchange your contacts, remain in contact, because at the end of the day, this is, so to say, the gain of our presentation, you know, to do networking and follow up on presentation. Thank you very much for being with us today.
Aqua Carpatica nu este singura apă extraordinară din România. Avem 60% din izvoarele Europei. Izvoare cu apă folosită terapeutic de acum 1600 de ani. Exportam apă la Constantinopol acum 800 de ani. Ape extrase de la sute de metri adâncime. Ape ce izvorăsc din păduri virgine sau ape premiate internațional. Avem și cea mai pură apă minerală din lume, iar apele din România continuă să se întreagă între ele. Încearcă noul izvor Aqua Carpatica, la fel de pur și cu gust unic datorat concentrației speciale de săruri. Aqua Carpatica din România, patria apelor minerale.
INCDT Combodi is Romania's unique R&D institute for gas turbines, dedicated to aerospace with application in the energy field. With more than 20 years of scientific proficiency, the Institute specializes in scientific research, design, testing, and production of innovative and sustainable equipment, such as aviation gas turbines, high-speed bladed machinery, and compressing equipment for natural gas market, focusing on consumption reduction and environmental protection. Working in accordance with a certified quality assurance system, Combodi proves its local and international proficiency through a significant number of international awards, involvement in high-enterprise European framework programs, and numerous partnerships with companies such as Safran Group, MT Aerospace, Pratt & Whitney, Onera, DLR, GHH Rand, MAN Diesel, and Turbo. The Institute seeks for new partners in the aerospace field, energy market focusing on gas extraction and transportation, and machine engineering industry. Combodi Institute, experienced partner for innovative and reliable solutions.
Welcome to Guarantee BBVA, a place where we create opportunities for our customers. For more than a quarter of a century, we have held on to our core value of customer comes first. We think big is ingrained in our DNA. We Are One Team reflects our collaborative, inclusive and supportive work environment. Investing in our people is one of our top priorities. Join us on our journey to create opportunities in Romania. Together, we can achieve great things.